Oh, there you go.
Andy says he's in, but he's muted.
I know,
I see him.
I'm trying to find him. He'll have to raise his hand.
Raise your hand, there he is.
Well, yeah, easy. On your screen, not on my screen. I'm looking for him. Hold on. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think we're all set.
Sorry. Yep, I'm here. So I apologize for that. We can't have 2 Zoom calls at one time at our house.
Well, yeah, and I'll use another one.
Okay, thank you, Sally. I'd like to begin with the presentation on the elementary waiver. On August 21st, Dr. Anzor, who's the health officer of Santa Barbara County Public Health, announced that Santa Barbara County would accept waivers for elementary schools to reopen in-person learning. The waiver application includes components of the reopening plan that was adopted by the CUSD board on August 11th, in addition to consultation with labor and parent organizations, as well as the every 2-month staff COVID-19 testing plan. Tonight, we are seeking board approval to submit the elementary waiver based on a very low incidence rate of positive COVID-19 cases in the Carpinteria, Summerlin, and Montecito areas. Our board adopted comprehensive reopening plan for protecting the health and safety of students and support from parent, staff, and community organizations. The CUSD comprehensive reopening plan was developed during the past 3 months with input and feedback from the CUSD leadership team, teachers, staff, parents, and community members. We met 10 days in the summer with the union to discuss the reopening plan. The reopening plan reflects the CDPH framework for opening schools, the CDPH industry guidance for schools, and the Santa Barbara County Public Health guidance for schools. The focus of this plan is safety, and it includes the following components: planning assumptions, goals for reopening, general safety conditions, planning phases, promoting healthy hygiene practices, intensify cleaning, disinfectants, and ventilation, implementing distancing inside and outside of the classroom with student cohorts no more than 14 students, train all staff and educate families, check for signs and symptoms, plan for when a staff member, child, or visitor becomes sick, maintain healthy operations, and considerations for partial or total school closures. The CUSD Board of Trustees discussed this plan at both public board meetings on July 28th and August 11th with public comments from teachers, staff, parents, and community members. On August 11th, the board voted their approval of the CUSD reopening plan, which is posted on the CUSD website at www.cusd.net. The elementary waiver application includes the required components of the reopening plan with the addition of the every 2-month staff COVID-19 testing with MRSO labs, as well as the August 25th Santa Barbara County Public Health protocols for symptoms, potential exposure, and or close contact with an individual testing positive for COVID-19 in a school or classroom setting. At this time, I'd like to share my screen and show the elementary waiver. This is the waiver application, and we had to indicate that it was for elementary school. 4 of our elementary schools, we have an enrollment of 931 students, and the total number of staff is 148, and we'd like to open by October 1st. We had to indicate when we consulted with the union, and we indicated our 10 days of summer in July and August, as well as we met 2 days in September to discuss the additional component which we had to add in the elementary waiver application.
Diana, your screen's not being shared.
No.
You don't see the screen?
No.
No.
Okay.
I do. I can see you.
Her document, her and Helen.
Oh, the document. No,
Yeah.
that is not shown at all.
Okay, hold on. Let me get the desktop again.
There you
There
go.
you go. Yeah, you were.
Okay.
All right. You see it now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The first page again is just the number of students that we have, 931, and total number of staff, 148, with the proposed reopening for October 1st. On this next item, we had to indicate when we consulted with the labor organization, which was caused in the 10 days in the summer and the 2 days in September, and then the parent and community organizations. During the summer, the principals discussed the reopening plan with both English and Spanish speaking parents from Canalino, the family school, Aliso, Summerlin, Carpinteria Middle School, and the high school, as well as the individual schools collected surveys. And those are the dates that they met in July. The CUSD school board discussed, as I said, the reopening plan on July 28th in a public meeting, as well as August 11th, and that's when they approved the CUSD reopening plan. And then at tonight's meeting, we're discussing the elementary waiver application. 2 days in July and August, we discussed the reopening plan with the Carpinteria Children's Project, Girls Inc., and Boys and Girls Club. And then on September 8th, we reconnected with them to explain the elementary waiver, which added the component of the every 2-month staff testing plan. And then on September 3rd, both the reopening plan and the staff testing plan was discussed with the district parent advisory meeting. We confirmed that on August 12th, we posted our board approved reopening plan on the website. Okay, these are the items that are from the original CUSD reopening plan approved on August 11th. We had to identify how we're cleaning and disinfecting, and these actions were approved in the reopening plan on August 11th. We don't share any materials. Each of the students' belongings are separated in containers. We've removed any items in the classroom that cannot be cleaned or disinfected. And custodial staff and workers who are cleaning are equipped with the proper PPEs, which include gloves, eye protection, and masks. The custodial staff has a schedule at each school sites in which they're cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched surfaces, that's door handles, light switches, sink handles, bathroom surfaces, student desks, tables, chairs, and office equipment. They also sanitize the bathrooms, indoor hallways, and frequently touched surfaces between each cohort of students. In our hybrid model, students attend school Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, the schools are closed for full day disinfecting and cleaning. And then the second cohort comes back to school on Thursday and Friday. Our windows and doors are opened in all the classrooms except the Gen 7, which has the highest air quality system. We have playground equipment which will not be used. The water fountains will not be used. Our cleaning products are approved by EPA for use against COVID-19. Our custodial staff has been trained in the Hilliard cleaning system. And for our special ed students being transported, their buses are cleaned and disinfected daily. The next item that we had to describe was cohorting, how we were keeping these students in their small fixed groups. So we've divided our students in 2 cohorts with not more than 14 students in cohorts A and B. They stay together in the entire day. And the schedule is that cohort A will be in person Monday and Tuesday, and cohort B will be in person on Thursday and Friday. When they're not in person, they'll be working online. And then on Wednesday, everybody will be in Zoom and a whole class together in the morning and in the afternoon, teacher release time for consultation and collaboration. We don't mix any of our student cohorts. The desks are ranged 6 feet apart to minimize mixing. Staff remain 6 feet away. Well, I'm glad the train in Summerlin agrees. We minimize contact, but that's okay, between student, staff, and families. Minimize contact between adults at all times. We have implemented health screenings of students and staff when they arrive at school. Students and staff are expected to wear face coverings while in school or on the bus. We are using outdoor classrooms as much as possible, minimizing congregate movement through the hallways as much as possible. There'll be no volunteers or classroom visitors. Lunch will be eaten in classroom or outdoors. We prefer the outdoors, but you'll not be using cafeterias or large group dining. SAC grab and go lunches are being provided. Recess is organized by classrooms in separated areas, and there'll be no shared playground equipment. The lockers, that's not applicable to elementary. And we limit the number of students in the restrooms. We needed to describe how students and parents would be moving in and out of school. Both school sites have designated specific areas for cohorts of students, as well as staggered times, so we're not mixing cohorts. All the walkways have been labeled with 6 feet markers, and students will move with their cohorts, maintaining the physical distance. And we've ordered hula hoops to help each student physically mark off and physically and visually mark off the 6-foot distancing. The next area of the application is the face coverings, and we have provided face coverings for all staff. They will be worn by all staff as well as students. We also, have plastic shields that have been donated that are available for staff. Staff and teachers will model and reinforce the wearing of face coverings, and staff and students not wearing face coverings will be sent home. The next area that we needed to identify was health screenings for students and staff. So parents of students and staff will conduct their own health screens each morning before going to school. That's the passive screening, including temperature check and staying at home with the following symptoms: fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headache, a loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. The students and staff with these symptoms should be considered should consider testing for COVID-19. And then before entering the school, students will be visually inspected and have temperature taken by staff. And before entering school, the staff will take their own temperature. All students and staff will cough or sneeze into tissue, a handkerchief, or their shirt sleeve or elbow. Any students or staff exhibiting symptoms would immediately move to the isolation area that's been identified at each school site. If any symptomatic person is in immediate distress, we'll call 911. Both the principals have worked with their staff to identify themselves and office staff who will be contacting parents and family members for safe transport home. And then any symptomatic persons on the school campus, the administration will contact me, and I will contact public health for documentation and appropriate follow-up. The other area from the reopening plan was healthy hygiene practice. So we know that hand washing is the most important action to prevent transmission. So staff and students will wash their hands with soap and water for a minimum of 20 to 30 seconds, or use our hand antiseptic or hand sanitizer in the following instances: before leaving home for school, before getting on or off a school bus, before or when entering a classroom, before and after recess, before and after eating, before and after using the restroom, and immediately when they arrive at home. All elementary classrooms have sinks and hand sanitizing stations, as well as individual hand sanitizers for students and staff. And staff will model and reinforce hand washing. Now, when a student or staff has a confirmed COVID-19 case, I will contact the community health at their number, and we isolate the case at the school and exclude from school until criteria for return has been met. The school committee will be notified by Parents Square of the known case, and will identify the contacts and quarantine and exclude exposed contacts for 14 days after the last date the case was present in school while infectious. We recommend testing of contacts. We'll disinfect and clean the classroom and primary spaces where the student or teacher or staff has spent significant amount of time. Physical distancing, we've achieved that by having no more than 14 students in cohorts A and B, and they'll stay together the entire school day. The classroom desks are arranged 6 feet apart. The teacher spaces are arranged 6 feet apart with plexiglass dividers. The cohort movement, it will be staggered. All walkways have been labeled with 6-foot markers, and students will move with cohorts only. Students will have hula hoops physically and visually mark their 6-foot distancing. We will encourage cohorts to use the outdoor classrooms because we have spacious schoolyards. And at all the school sites, the principals have identified entry and dismissal areas for the cohorts as well as the staggered times. The next area is staff training and family education. Custodial staff is trained in enhanced sanitation practices by the Hilliard Cleaning Company. Staff was trained during their September staff meetings in the following: physical distancing guidelines and their importance, proper use of face coverings, screening practices, COVID-19 specific symptom identification, procedures to follow at their school when children or adults become ill, and procedures that they will follow to protect themselves from COVID-19. Parents are provided educational materials by way of email, Parent Square, and the website about enhanced sanitation practices, physical distancing guidelines, their importance, proper use, removal, and washing of face coverings, screening practices, and the COVID-19 specific symptom identification and prevention. And current updates are available to staff on the website and by way of Parent Square. The next component is the testings of student and staff. So students or staff with COVID-19 will be sent home for quarantine and to contact their healthcare provider immediately for medical evaluation, including testing. If the tests are negative after their symptoms, they may return to school 3 days after the symptoms resolve. If the tests are positive, I will contact the community health nurse at disease control. We isolate the case and exclude from school until criteria for return has been met. And then the school community is notified that there's a known case by Parent Square, and we identify the contacts, quarantine, and we exclude the cohort for the 14 days after the exposure. The classroom and the primary spaces where the student or staff spent will be disinfected and cleaned. Student or staff with a close contact with a confirmed COVID-19 case will be sent home for quarantine for the 14 days from the last exposure. Testing will be recommended, and if any symptoms develop, contact the medical provider for evaluation. And then we have contracted with MRSA Labs that will be testing the staff every 2 weeks at the district office. And then the triggers to switch to distance learning. CUSD has made preparations to close classes or schools, if so ordered by the governor or county public health officer. We follow the governors and the public health guidelines that it's 5% of the total number of teachers, students, staff, if there are cases within a 14-day period for a school closure, or 25% or more of schools in CUSD have closed due to COVID-19 within the 14 days. And then the next area is the communication plan, and we use email and Parent Square to notify school communities and parents for a known contact or case. The next item that we had to provide is our response plan for exposure, which I just reviewed, and it is the components of the August 25th memo from County Public Health, which identified the protocols for symptoms, potential exposure, or close contact with an individual testing positive for COVID-19 in a school or classroom setting. The next item is additionally, we had to reiterate how we were assigning students to cohorts, and that's the 50% of our students, or 14, not more than 14 students in a cohort. The first initial way of organizing it was through alphabet, but then we had to keep families together. So each school has organized each classroom into their cohorts, and they're labeled in our student information system in Aries. And those cohorts will be maintained for the school year. And then we included our response plan for every 2-month testing plan that we've contracted with MRSA Labs in Lompoc to test 25% of the staff every 2 weeks. And that is our plan.
Thank you very much, Diana. Now I'd like to open it to public comment. And as I said, we have.
Sally, can I ask a question real quick? Sally?
Questions at the end.
Sally, I'm sorry, did you hear Michelle would like to ask a question?
Yeah, I saw that, but go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, Diana, can you just, again, tell me the numbers of the students? I mean, how many total elementary students we're talking about?
Yes.
931.
Excuse me, 931.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
How about,
So
Couple of-
again, I'd like to say that you're limited to 3 minutes.
Excuse me,
and-
Sally, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but Rogelio has a question.
Go ahead.
actually, two. Okay. Well, okay. One of the rules, which it says that the regarding the restrooms that limited a number of students in restrooms, and I was wondering, what do you mean by that limited number? 1, 2, 3, 4? I don't know.
Yes, every principal is working with their school staff to determine how they're going to monitor the restrooms.
But it's going to be like a standard number, correct?
I believe that that's what the principals are working with their staff. Yes.
Okay. Now, page 5, talking about students washing their hands for a minimum of 20 to 30 seconds. Who's going to be checking that students actually wash their hands for at least 20 or 30 seconds? Does it
Oh,
mean
yes.
that someone will be there? Because actually, because we're not talking about adults. We're talking about we're not talking about teenagers. We're talking about children. Who's going to be making sure that children will be washing their hands accordingly?
Yes, the staff and the teachers and the instructional assistants.
So does that mean that there will be the inside?
I'm sorry, inside.
Yeah, for example, they're washing their hands. One, on which places? One could be the restrooms, correct?
Yes.
Or what else? What other places?
Oh, in the classroom.
In the classrooms,
Yes.
okay. But I understand it. It's written here, but to me, it's kind of, it would be hard to actually check on who actually did it for 10 seconds or actually 5 seconds or no seconds at all.
I'm confident that the staff and the teachers and the staff, the instructional assistants will be using strategies to ensure students are washing their hands. For example, when you send a student to the restroom and they come back, it's very simple to say, on your way back, stop at the classroom sink and wash your hands. I mean, I'm confident that our teachers can manage and monitor the hand washing.
Yeah, now we're talking about 931 students on every elementary schools, 931 students, and staff, 148. Staff, like you said, it could be custodians, it could be maintenance people, it could be bus drivers, it could be teachers, correct? Okay, 931 students, that equals to 6.5 students per employee to take care of.
Well, actually, the staff, that's teachers and instructional assistants. That's
Yeah.
not including the bus drivers.
Okay, but that's
That's the staff is the elementary.
that equals to 148.
Yes,
148.
that's the elementary teaching staff. Yes.
So my math is that if there's only 466 on campus
Yes.
at any given time, and at 1 to 14, you'd need 67 staff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have 148
Yes.
elementary staff. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you. Again, I would like to, we're open for public comment. As I said, there's over 45 speakers and your time is limited to 3 minutes, and we will be timing you. And we would appreciate just speaking and no extra additional movements or anything else, because we have a lot of speakers to get through and we wanted to hear everybody. I'll call for 2 breaks during the speaking, but remember not to leave your Zoom meeting. Just maybe shut down your screen. All right, Monica, the first speaker. Monica there?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I was muted, sorry. So we will begin with Jessica Snyder. If Jessica can please raise her hand
So wave her hand.
or wave like this so
Like
they can see
Snyder.
you.
There she is. Hi, Jessica.
I'm up first. Okay. I'm gonna prepare and get the kids. Here we go. All right.
Jessica, I'm sorry, we can't hear you very well.
Great. Can you hear me better now? Is that any better?
No.
It's pretty low volume.
Okay.
If you can get as close to the mic as possible.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Better. Okay.
Right. So we, when we received this latest post from Jamie, we were shocked, to put it mildly, in that it was either Sammy returned to school as part of this cohort, or she would be option B, an independent study under the guidance of the school counselor. That was the only other option. We went back and forth a few times and said, well, what about the option for a remote DLI continuation? I asked if there was any teacher that was qualified that could possibly continue this remote learning for the DLI group. To me, it doesn't make an ounce of sense to push our child forth into a situation where we do not think it's safe. We believe it's far premature to open the doors, especially given the climate and that we are in one of the most active and very frightening areas when it comes to COVID. I have a lot of personal friends that have unfortunately come down with COVID. I've had 3 friends that have passed away from COVID. People think that it doesn't reach them, and it does. I also have an underlying respiratory infection where I need to stay close to home. As such, we've been very, very careful with our girls. We've been very careful in how often we go out of the house. We wear masks. And to be suddenly forced into a situation where it's either you go along with this cohort should the waiver be passed, and that's a big should. We're hoping that it is not passed. But if it is passed, then I asked Jamie, I said, well, does this mean that Sammy is out of the DLI program? She had a wonderful experience her kindergarten year, and now she's with Maestra Parker, who is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, and she is thriving. She's reading at a faster pace than she has ever read before. It's been 3 weeks. We recorded today. She's doing unbelievably well considering the circumstances. So to uproot her out of what is now comfortable and is now our new routine, I would see as detrimental emotionally to her confidence, and then to say, just logistically, how in the world would this work? How could you possibly offer the same quality of learning and growing in an independent study program under the guidance of one school counselor for all of these children? And I said, well, what happens when all of this is done? What happens when COVID passes over, or it is deemed safe by the state?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your time is over. But next we have Mr. Sean Snyder.
My 3 minutes is over.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Hello. First off, I'd just like to say we really love the Catalino School and the DLI program. Our daughter had a wonderful time there in kindergarten, and we're very excited to continue on in 1st grade. Although remote learning has been challenging, we're really finally getting the hang of it now in week 3. My wife said Maestra Parker has been amazing, and our daughter's doing great with the Zoom meetings and the remote activities. I'm very concerned about the potential spread of COVID-19, given we live in a tourist town. If there's someone who is asymptomatic and who does not care to protect others and does not wear a mask, there's a high potential to spread the disease. And if a family member of a student or a student got sick, it could potentially infect a lot of the people in the school. I also think, it's really unreasonable to expect that a first grader would wear a mask all day long. Excuse me, and also not be able to go around their other students. It's definitely been challenging for our daughter to be remote and not be able to see, her friends she's made in the school, but to have them be in school and still not be able to get anywhere close to them, much less close to the teacher. I don't think it's going to work. We had in kindergarten with Master Melody every day. The students were hugging her, saying hi, hanging out right next to all the other students, and I just don't think that you're going to be able to maintain a social distance with children of this young age. I think that this is really premature, especially to go against the mandate of the state. And I understand, that in our area of the county, we've had very low rates, but we're right nearby in Santa Barbara. We still have very high rates overall in the county, and I don't think that we're at a safe point to where we can expect to be able to do this safely at this time. So don't get me wrong, we would love to go back to school. This is not something that we really enjoy doing, but it's where we're at right now. And I really think it's just premature to try and get into this early. And I think we're far better off waiting, especially given that we've just started the remote learning process. We give it a little bit more time before we jump into this process. And furthermore, as my wife had said, we're very shocked that we could be kicked out of the DLI program if we do not go back to school, or our daughter rather. If we do have to reopen, we really think there should be an alternative for DLI remote learning, and to expect that a counselor would be able to somehow handle all of the remote students from ages kindergarten through 5th grade just doesn't seem like a reasonable expectation.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Next, we have Krista Munisic.
Hi, Krista.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you. So I'm going to talk very quickly. First, I want to thank Rogelio about your questions. Those are actually questions that I asked my admin. I still have not received an adequate response. I have 70 to 100 students on a given day in my wing that are told to use 2 stalls between them. So I'm not sure how I can safely monitor that. So I really appreciated your question. So first I want to say we all absolutely want to return. I've been doing this a long time, and I would much rather be in the classroom with my students. However, past and current practice by our district does not demonstrate that the safety and well-being of staff is a priority. Attempts to communicate our questions and concerns have been met with complete disregard, and our issues are never fully addressed. I, along with my fellow educators, have continuously, year after year, put our own needs and those of our families second. But I can't do that when you're asking me to put myself and my students at risk by working with a plan that I have zero confidence in. I'm beyond frustrated with the continued mistruths being shared, that the union is at fault for the issues with reopening. Receiving a text from admin that was not intended for me, which was stated that the union was dragging our feet regarding consulting with the district, was unprofessional and not true. Admin needs to create this created perception and state the facts about the amount of time our union leadership has given to support the reopening and how our continued questions have not been answered because the district was unable to answer them repeatedly and continuously told us for every single question they would get back to us. How can you have a plan to reopen but still be unable to answer our basic safety questions? And also, actions speak much louder than words. I listened last week to the board meeting and was amazed at how completely different what is spoken is with what is actually occurring. The misinformation in the waiver application is particularly concerning to me. 3 standout items are: 1, the staff did not participate in a virtual COVID safety training on August 19th as stated. 2, that all windows open to 12 inches as stated. That was a concern I shared at a previous board meeting. I measured my windows today. They open at 4 inches up to 5.5 the first 3. And I have a picture of that. Not only do they have corrosion and mold, they do not open to 12 inches as you stated. Also, where are the supplies? We have continuously asked, where are the plexiglass? How many were ordered? Where are the face shields? How many were ordered? Where is the hand sanitizer? How much was ordered? And yet we have not still gotten an answer for that. Before I was told that 70 face shields were ordered, and I asked, how do we determine which staff members do not have the right to have a face shield and be safe? Why have these simple questions not been answered? And where is the equity in making an informed decision? I was very disturbed at the last board meeting when the waiver and the reopening plan are not available in Spanish.
Your
Where
time
is the
has run out, Krista. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we have Micheline Sanchez Redfield.
I don't think she's here. I don't see her.
Mitch, wave your hand.
They're not in attendance.
And Mr. Jason Redfield is not in attendance either.
Let me look. Hold on, I don't see them.
Me.
I see Jason.
Jason, could you raise, oh, here we are. Yes, there we are. There's Micheline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Micheline. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Hi.
I want to start by saying thank you for letting us come on here and speak with you all. Just as everybody is stating, we have a lot of questions, but I know we only have 3 minutes. So main thing is we are very, very concerned about sending Brianna back to school. We are very close parents that think education is very important, so we really would like to send her back. But there's a lot of concerns of, for instance, one is she told us that in the new classrooms that she's in do not have windows that open. So when they are in the classroom, how are you going to circulate the air in that? Second is she also said when you go to the restrooms, there are no seat covers. So will those be also put in there so that students can use seat covers when they go to the restroom? Also, we were worried that when we're still in the purple colored area, so we don't understand why we are wanting to open schools so quickly when we're still in the purple zone. I know that there's a lot of private schools and Christian schools and stuff like that that have opened, but those are a lot smaller schools. We're talking about a larger amount of students. And I know that they're going to have a hard time keeping their masks on the whole entire day, making sure that they're hand sanitizing every time they touch something or somebody. So there's a lot of concerns right there. So we would love to send her back, but also it's scary that if we don't have an option, we have to put her in an independent program, which then takes her out of Miss Mace's class that she has really made a relationship with, that has really brought her out even more and has helped her out. And now last year in 4th grade, she was reading at 3rd grade level. Over the summer, she read and now she's at 5th grade level. And so she's improved a lot, but it's pretty scary that you want us to send our kids to school when we're not ready for that. So I don't know if you guys have answers to those questions.
Thank you, Mitch.
Next, we have Mr. Jason Redfield.
Thank you, everybody on the board. Just to kind of recap what my wife said is we do have some concerns. You know, I work in technology, and I don't understand why we can't do virtualized cohorts why we have some cohorts going on campus. We can use technology webcams. Teachers can set up the iPads and follow along. Students can follow along that don't want to come back to school. For parents that don't want to send their kids back to school. My other concern is if I do take out Brianna, I feel like she has to be ripped out of going to Catalino, who she's been going to Catalino since preschool days. You know, it was a vision of her grandmother, Maria Sanchez, to have her go there and go through that school system because she wanted her granddaughter there, and just to take her away from that would be, you know, detrimental to her. I think kids need a lot of positive reinforcement, and this is not the positive reinforcement. Is to tell her that, hey, just because you're not going to go back to school, you got to do independent study, which is not fun. We did it for a week when we were on vacation, and it was very trying. Again, also, like my wife said, that we're still in purple. How can we really be sure that the kids are going to wear that mask all day long? They're not going to play around and joke around and you know, play around because they're kids. They're not going to understand the whole seriousness of this. I mean, as adults, as high school students, they'll understand that, but kids, you know, around, you know, anywhere from 5 up to 10, I don't think they understand the severity. And for the school to try to reopen, I don't think it's a right time right now. These kids are getting settled right into where they need to be with their teachers, and I think we need to reevaluate this probably at the beginning of the next year, honestly.
Thanks, Jason.
Next, we have Angela White.
Hi, Angela.
Ready?
You're all set.
Okay. My name is Angela Carreño White, and I'm becoming an all too familiar face at these meetings. I speak because many of my colleagues share the same concerns, and they do not feel they can speak freely, so I raise my voice for them. We all want to be face-to-face with our students. In fact, it's far easier. What we're doing now is a lot of work, and we're willing to do it because it's keeping us safe. We all realize that we want to be face-to-face, but we're not ready. The district has provided a plan on paper that is not actionable in real life. Our surrounding districts have made this realization and have no plans to reopen until it is safe to do so. Carpentry Unified simply does not have the resources or the personnel to open safely. My own classroom is an example. Over the summer, with more time than ever before to accomplish the task of deep cleaning our classrooms, my room was not completed. Up until the actual workday that I was to return to prepare for distance learning, my room was in shambles. I do not blame the custodians for this. They were understaffed all summer long. They needed more help and were pulled away to do things like trainings that are crucial. At Catalino, I'm deeply concerned about the ability to properly sanitize our classrooms between morning cohorts and afternoon cohorts on the same day. There are 2 custodians for 5 classrooms. What if an issue arises on another part of campus and custodians are called away to deal with it? Will the cleaning of touch points be completed? Will I be expected to sanitize without the most basic of supplies, such as gloves or Clorox wipes that are not being provided? I keep hearing about face shields and plexiglass being available. Where are they? If you are tired of hearing these questions, imagine how frustrating it is to have to keep asking them and not having them answered. You keep hearing that we are trained, and we are not. We've not been trained on safety protocols or things to look for. In fact, the thermometers we are given to test temperature needs to be read from a distance of 3 to 6 centimeters. That's not 6 feet social distancing. We keep speaking of equity and as an argument for return to in-person instruction. And as a teacher who this past spring made home visits to check on the welfare of my own students who were struggling to connect on Zoom, I'm well aware of the issues. And I worked with my own students to be sure that they were engaged. I argue that the current plan that we have proposed has serious issues with inequity with regard to access to education under the current plan. We've spent the last 15 days building a community with our classes, teaching and assessing our own students. And suddenly, if they don't feel safe because they happen to agree with the current county guidelines, that students in my class are being told to ignore the risk, return to in-person, or choose independent study as kindergartners. It's not only a far less equitable option, it just makes no sense. Finally, with regard to BB 9323 meeting conduct, which was passed last week, placing an undue restriction on our ability to speak on issues like these are of deep concern to me and many of my colleagues. You're towing a fine line, in my opinion, of censorship. Not only that, you're communicating to your constituents that you're not interested in hearing any other point of view other than your own. I urge you to consider all you are going to hear tonight and all that you have heard with a listening ear and an open mind. And I hope you reconsider this push to open hastily. We're not ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Beth Germanetti.
Beth, can you wave your hand for me, please? I see you. Hi, Beth.
Okay, there we go. I just want to thank you for, like others, thank you for letting us speak. Wow, 3 minutes isn't a lot, so I'm going to try to do my best. I've been with the district for 15 years now in the special day class, and I honestly don't feel we're ready. I hear and I have asked myself the same questions about the washing of hands, and Carpenter may have low cases, but Santa Barbara and Ventura are nearby. And that was one of my points. Not everybody stays right in Carpinteria. So, they travel holidays and stuff. And I'm so sorry, I got to put my dog out. I've seen emails about like custodians being denied for cleaning products. And there's actually a Long Beach Unified School District. They are not opening until January 28th. They just don't feel it's worth the risk for the health and safety. And they also say that they believe that not perpetuating a cycle of opening and closing classrooms, schools will best contribute to stabilizing the learning experience for the students and allow parents to plan for coming weeks and months. I just don't know why we're rushing. I mean, we're talking human lives here. And, I, for one, my mother-in-law and daughter are both high-risk individuals. And I almost feel like I'm being forced to choose between my family and a job. And I can't live without either one of them. And this is my passion. I love being in school. So I'm not sure why we just can't hold off. Maybe wait until January, like Long Beach. See where we're at. See where the numbers are. Let the kids get through the cold and flu season. And there was a study that percentage-wise, the highest percentage of symptoms was, I believe it was a headache at 70.3%, and fever was the lowest, 45.4%. I personally don't wish to return to an environment at this point where the health and safety is such a huge gamble. One life lost is a life gone forever. I would not want to be in your shoes, the administrators, the board members at this point, because you know what, guys, you have the
I'm sorry,
power
your
of
time is
life and
out.
death. Please make the right choice.
Okay. Next, we have Jamie Diamond.
Jamie, can you wave your hand, please? Ah, there you are. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, everybody. Okay. Good evening, School Board, Superintendent Rigby, and everybody at home. My name is Jamie Diamond, and I'm a parent of 3 children here in Carpinteria. And I support the going back to school, the elementary waiver, for these reasons. There's too many children in our district whose well-being is at risk every day we're in a remote learning model. I've heard from numerous parents and teachers who are unable to publicly comment themselves, all supporting the safe return of students on our elementary campuses. But I've also heard from teachers who recognize the need for kids to return, but they do not have confidence with the current procedures. Their concerns are as follows: not enough time and staff to adequately clean the kindergarten rooms between the morning and afternoon cohorts. No sanitizing wipes have been made available to teachers as of yet. And non-Measure U classrooms have not been adequately cleaned and look as if they've been used as break rooms by others. I'll say if parents don't wish their students to return in person for any reason, there are alternatives, but we need to get our elementary students, especially our higher risk students, back on campus safely. I have all the confidence that our fantastic teachers and staff are more than capable of doing it with the proper safety and sanitization supplies made available. I also wonder why we're pushing for October 1 when the district originally set the date of November 1 at a previous meeting. I'd like to point out, we need a better option for our kids who will remain at home. Independent study does not work for everyone, and it's even more burdensome to families. We need our at-home students to be present, active participants in their classrooms and get the same quality education their peers get, which they are guaranteed by law. The technology is here via Zoom already. It's already in use, and there's absolutely no reasonable excuse we cannot make this happen. There are schools all over the country, from kindergarten through university levels, running concurrent classrooms. Even Laguna Blanca will be running concurrent classes this year, meaning simultaneously teaching in person and to students on Zoom. I have numerous links, which I will be emailing to the board to cite these instances. This would also be an incentive to parents who has the luxury of keeping their kids home, thus reducing the in-person class size, resulting in an even safer classroom setting. If we're really talking about what's best for our kids, this is it. I do have to mention, I really appreciated Jamie Bray's notion of staying home until November 1, as I stated earlier. It gave parents a time frame to figure out their options. Now folks are scrambling to move up their childcare plans. I would like to see us stick to that date. With that said, I personally will not be able to send my kids back in person because when an exposure happens.
I'm sorry, Jamie, your time ran out.
Okay.
Next, we have Jenny Cota.
Is Jenny here?
Wave or raise your hand, Jenny.
Do you see Jenny?
She's here.
You see her?
No, but I see her name.
Jenny, can you wave your hand, please? Well, let's get back to her. I don't see her.
Okay.
Oh, I see her right here.
Oh.
There we go. I don't think she's on though.
She's not?
No. Jenny?
Okay.
We'll get back to her.
Okay. And then next we have Rishon Solis Herman, and I apologize if I do not say your name correctly.
Rishan, can you wave, please?
Waving.
Okay, I'll get there.
Keep waving, Rashawn. I see her.
Hi, Rishan. You're on my last screen. Have you unmuted? There you go. You're unmuted.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Good evening. I hope everyone is well. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
So.
There's a lot of
Can you hear?
static. Can you get closer
Okay.
to the mic, please?
Good evening. I hope everyone is well. How's that?
I lost
Is
her.
that better?
You're frozen, Rashawn.
Can you hear me?
We can
That's
hear you
better.
now.
My name is Mrs. Solis Sherman, and I would like to address this.
No, she's.
Maybe if she turns off her video.
Okay.
Yeah, Rashawn.
Good evening. I hope
The audio is not working.
My name is Mrs. Solis Herman, or Rashawn, and I would like to address this message to those who have made a decision. Yes. Okay.
That's better.
You want me to stop my video and just go from there?
Please
Yeah,
do.
that's better.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll restart the clock. You can start.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. I would like to address this message. Okay. Good evening. Okay, good evening. I hope everyone is well. My name's Rashawn, or as the kids call me, Mrs. Solis Sherman. And I would like to address this message to those who have made a decision for me and my family. I am an instructional aide at the Catalina Carpinteria Family School in a K-1 class of 18 students and 1 teacher. Last week, I learned unexpectedly via email that our superintendent would be applying for a waiver to open school to on-site in-classroom instruction using a cohort model on October 1 of this year, not the anticipated opening of November 1, depending on COVID data numbers in our county. And my position as a classroom aide was meant to be an essential worker on the front lines. I do not remember being asked for my input on opening school to on-site in-classroom instruction in a safe and sustainable way to keep the community healthy and well. As a school team, I feel we could have shared our concerns and brainstormed a viable and safe plan for on-site instruction when our community data numbers prove the sunny skies ahead. My position is now an essential worker, meeting students and parents at the morning gate and taking students' temperatures. I will be exposed to dozens of students and parents I know nothing about and taking any and all germs into the classrooms of students and teachers I will be covering for morning and lunch recess, who will now be exposed by my contact with others. After nearly 6.5 months of chosen isolation to protect myself and my family from outside germs, I am now given the task of frontline. Are you asking me to choose between my family and the district, or just giving me a directive? I do not feel valued nor worthy as a CUSD employee. I am terribly disappointed in not being asked for my input on decisions about my welfare, that of my families, and the community of Carpinteria. I thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have
May I
Carrie.
start my video now?
Yes, sorry. Next, we have Carrie Bradshaw.
Hi, everyone. So thank you for letting me address the group. I have a kindergartner in the DLI program in Maestra Ibarro's class.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. I have cancer. I recently underwent surgery and I'm receiving ongoing treatment. And as a family, we're not comfortable having our daughter return to school at this time. Based on the proposed model, the hybrid model for kindergarten, she would be expected to attend in-person instruction for approximately 2.5 hours, 4 times a week, with virtual learning 1 time a week. With your temperature checks and hand washing schedule and snack breaks, I don't believe there will be more than a maximum of 1.5 hours of actual in-person learning for kindergarten. What I'm understanding is if we choose to not send our daughter back for this hybrid model, she'll be removed from her current DLI classroom. And my understanding is the only other option is independent study, which is only available in English. So my question is, if we choose this option for the safety of our family, we'll use her spot in the DLI program. Forgive me, but this sounds fairly discriminatory towards those who are opting to keep their children home at this time. Would it be possible to discuss an option that allows for continued remote learning for the DLI students in Spanish? A possibility could be videotaping the in-person portion of the class so virtual students can view as well and participate in the virtual Wednesday class with their classmates. Another option might be offering a virtual portion and an in-person portion utilizing the teacher's aides. From the comments that I read through on Parent Square, it sounds like there are a number of DLI families that would participate in this option. I do understand how much the board, the teachers, the principals are trying to balance. And I realize that there's no right answer for everyone. Please understand I'm only trying to advocate for my daughter while still supporting Canalino and the DLI program. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rosa Herrera.
Hi, Rosa.
Hi, how are you guys? Good evening. I'm a mother of a 3rd grader in the DLI program. I'm hoping to keep my son at home a little longer because of his grandparents. Both grandparents have underlying health conditions, but given that there isn't a remote DLI program option, I will now be forced to send him to school. My son loves his current teacher and classmates. He has been with this group of children since kindergarten. I think it is unfair that if he was to remain at home and continue with the distance learning program, he would no longer be part of his current classroom. He would not be assigned to a classroom or a teacher. He would be working independently without a teacher or without classmates, and most importantly, without the DLI program. I hope that you truly consider the effects of starting school early, which would be October the 1st. It's just, I don't think that we're ready. You know, we're constantly telling our children to be patient, to wait their turn. And this is just ridiculous. My son's not ready, we're not ready. We've been doing what we've been asked to, you know, stay home, to, you know, wear a mask. And this is just ridiculous. So, and I also want to point out that I've, throughout all of my years, helped my children in the classrooms, and teachers do not have an instructional aid all day long. They have them for a period of time, which is 1 to 2 hours either in the morning or 1 to 2 hours in the afternoon. And so this is where parents come in and help out the teachers. So absolutely, the teacher would not be able to monitor the children wash their hands or go to the bathroom or stay 6 feet apart. So Mr. Delgado, I appreciate all of your questions and your concerns. I think that you really, really, really need to take all of that into consideration. I've been there, I've helped out, I have 3 children, and it's not possible. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Julia Meyer.
Hi, Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hello, everyone. All right, give me a second. I'm going to move a second. All right. Thank you for having me. This is our 4th week of distance learning, and my son, he's in 2nd grade. He's an incredibly curious, loving learning, loves science, math, reading, and being challenged, and he loves to ask questions. His curiosity in his whole duration at Canalino has been met with enthusiasm and joy by all of his teachers. And that's made him the student he is. And this year, his teacher is wonderful. She's commanding calm in the virtual classroom. She's encouraging and kind, but she does not see my son. And how could she? She's managing 20 other children from behind a screen. And I listened to my son tell his dad that he feels like no one notices him because they can keep him muted all day. He's showing us signs of depression and anger. He complains of headaches and he can't sleep. And he is 8 years old. He's a kid who has enough food to eat. Both parents are employed, and I've been able to take a leave from my job to help him with his education. We have to ask ourselves what is happening to the kids in our district without parents at home, without this support. Without a return to in-person school, we're setting our children up for a massive failure. Our kids will get by, but for how long and at what cost? Is getting by an acceptable measurement of our children? And how many kids are falling completely off? How is this okay for us? We can't expect our teachers to thrive in classrooms like this. As educators, I know that teachers understand the critical importance that school plays in our children's lives, and I absolutely cannot imagine the pressure that virtual learning is putting on them. The flip side of an 8-year-old feeling invisible is a teacher trying their best to pour into 20 kids from a screen. How is that okay for our teachers? If we were in an area with rising COVID numbers, it would be prudent to question a return to school, but at this point, our town has been able to maintain a low count after a summer of packed campgrounds, tourists, and dining out. Carpinteria has deemed it appropriate for strangers from all over the country to camp less than 10 feet from each other. We've deemed it appropriate for a dishwasher to wash a glass after a person drank from it. And now we must make our children's education a priority. We have clear and direct guidelines from public health and CDC that are more regulated in school than all these pods and backyard classrooms that are popping up all over town. I own a customer-facing business in Santa Barbara that has never closed. We have followed public health mandated COVID protocols. We practice mask wearing, safe social distancing, hand washing, sanitizing, and regular testing. We interact indoors with hundreds of people daily. In 7 months, we've had no one test positive. We can do this safely because we are relying on science, safe practices, and they're working. Every day I feel that responsibility of our community's health on my shoulders. And to assume that our school district doesn't value our health is unfair. Even I, who have never closed our doors, still feel conflicted about doing the right thing. And I think the perfect time when we are all feeling safe is years
Julia,
off.
I'm sorry,
We cannot
Julia.
toss our kids' mental health and social health aside until then.
Julia, your time ended. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm yelling because I'm in the cafeteria at Canalino.
It's okay. It's okay. Next, we have Aaron Smith.
Hi, Aaron.
Hello. Sorry, I had to figure out how to do that. Thank you, everybody, for this meeting. I'm here tonight in support of CARP Unified applying for the waiver to reopen our elementary schools. I have read both the waiver as well as the Canalino school reopening plan. I was recently responsible for reopening one manufacturing site as well as one retail store when the original restrictions were relaxed. I put myself in the place of my workers, my customers, going over every possible way that the transmission could occur when designing my plan. I feel our administrators and teachers who are helping with this have done the same thing, and I feel the plan is thorough enough for me to send my own children back to school. I can understand the hesitation of some families. That's fine. My kids are fine on Zoom. They sleep in, roll out of bed, right into their nice quiet space with no distractions. But it's not about my children. This is about all the children in our district. I understand the frustration of having to choose between independent study or come back to school in person. That's a hard decision. However, many children need more than what Zoom can give them. The younger children I know cannot Zoom. Maybe a few can handle it, but most cannot. That's clear. The CDC states that children need a school environment for multiple reasons: to provide educational instruction, support, and develop of social and emotional skills. It creates a safe environment for learning, addresses nutritional needs, and facilitates physical activity. Many of these needs are not supported by Zoom alone. I'm worried about the children who are falling through the cracks. It's unfortunate that some parents are having to leave their children at home alone on Zoom without support. Many families in our community rely on both parents to work, and they cannot afford to lose their jobs if they still have them. Job protection is limited for parents who must stay home to help with their children. Unemployment is not what it was a few weeks ago. While maintaining the jobs of the parents is not the responsibility of our school board or the district, teaching our children and giving them the best environment to learn in and thrive is their responsibility. I thank all of you for taking that responsibility seriously and moving forward with the waiver. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Next, we have Leah Boyd.
Leah, can you wave, please? Hi, Leah. There we go.
Can you
There
hear
we
me?
go. Yes.
Okay. Superintendent Rigby, Chairwoman Sally Green, and school board trustees, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have a third grader at CUSD, and I support the district's pursuit of a waiver to hold in-person instruction. I have a very deep respect for our teachers who are doing everything within their power to make the best of distance learning. I watch my child's wonderful young teacher manage a Zoom classroom of kids in 20 different homes across our district. She manages this with far more patience and success than I have attempting to support that one child. But no matter how many hours teachers put into this model, no matter how much creativity they employ or how much experience they bring, distance learning is not working for most of our kids. My support of this waiver comes from two perspectives. One is the position of parent who wants what's best for her child and her family. It is impossible to do full-time work while overseeing the education of a very wiggly third grader. How can schools be closed when an economy is open? And that leads me to my other perspective. While I have the luxury of being able to work from home, so many parents at CUSD do not. All of us here in this meeting are committed to public education. I have watched this school board make very difficult decisions in an effort to close the education gap in our community. Now we are all watching those years of hard work unravel as the pandemic presses its thumb down on the families that already struggled the most. These are some of the realities now. While parents are working to keep a roof over their family's head, middle and high school students are caring for younger siblings and managing their education at the cost of their own education. Children are sitting outside in cars while their parents are at work. So many of our CUSD families can't participate in learning pods or hire tutors or help their children in English classwork if they speak Spanish. I don't know if we'll hear from those voices tonight, but we should all consider the families that need this waiver the most.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Clark or Jessica Late.
Do you see Jessica?
Let me check.
I have a Jessica. Is that Jessica Clark. Is that you, Jessica? Hi, Jessica.
This is not Jessica Clark.
Okay, wrong Jessica.
I see a few Jessicas, but
How about Jessica's iPhone? Should we try that one? Are you Jessica Clark? No response.
So I see her, but she's not waving.
You see Jessica Clark?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you ask her to wave? Jessica, can you wave? Please. Ah, there she is.
Oh, it says on my phone.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, sorry. Thank you for your time. I wanted to kind of echo Aaron Smith, Leah Boyd, Julia Mayer. I think I have a similar perspective to those of Julia and Leah. As most of you know, my sister is Jamie Pursoon, who is the principal at Canalino School. And I have the opportunity this year to have both my kindergarten son, Dax Clark, and my second grade daughter, Heather Clark, in the DLI program. I have a limited knowledge of Spanish, as does my husband. And I also have the privilege of having both Sonia and Melody Aguila this year as teachers, who are incredible and are doing an incredible job. Being a primary English-speaking family, I get to have a window into what it's like to trying to teach my kids in a language that I primarily don't understand. Because the DLI program is based on the teachers speaking only in Spanish to their students. My husband and I spend a lot of time on Google Translate to try to be there for our children and help them with their schoolwork. We are fortunate enough to be able to be at home with our kids during the Zooms. And we are fortunate enough to be able to have jobs that are flexible enough for us to be here. But I can't help but think about the 80% of the district that speaks Spanish and is socioeconomically challenged, that won't be able to be at home with their kids, nor are they able to oftentimes understand what the teacher is asking, whether it be in person or on a Zoom call. And I really feel like those are the forgotten families and are the forgotten children. A lot of the people that I employ in our businesses in town are of the Spanish-speaking community, and they are putting their children in charge at home. Their 7th and 8th and sometimes 5th grade students are in charge at home of getting their other kids on Zoom calls. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see what's happening to the children, to their spirits. And I just, what else can I say? It's a heartbreaking thing to see. So I am in support of getting these kids back to school. I have total confidence in our teachers, in our custodial staff, in our principals. I have total faith that they're going to do the right thing, make sure we are safe. And I think it's not only important for the children, but the community as a whole to keep on functioning, to get everybody back in a place where they are safe and taken care of and being taught in person. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. If everybody would just step away maybe and walk around your house and get your Are you on? On? Are you on? Andy and Diana.
Just waiting for Andy. Here he is.
Okay.
Sally,
Yes.
are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I have noticed that the Hispanic community has been completely ignored on this board meeting. So
I don't think we're done, Rogelio.
I know, but I would like to just give a 1 minute summary of what was discussed, so that because we got some emails in Spanish. So and besides, this community is 70% Hispanic. So I think that they deserve the right, at least to know what's going on, and it won't take more than a minute in Spanish.
Can you wait until all the comments are done, and then when it's your turn to make the comment, you do that, and then we'll have heard from everyone?
The issue is that at the end, this is a long meeting, so probably we're going 1/3 halfway, and otherwise, if I wait at the end, then it's basically nonsense.
I would like you to wait until you have your, the board gives their comments after everyone else, and then we'll move on. So Micah, will you call on the next person? Sarah.
Yes, Sarah Scott.
Do you see Sarah?
No, I see a Sarah D.
Sarah, if you're there, Sarah Scott, would you please wave? Sally, do you see a Sarah Scott?
I haven't looked.
Well, let's go on to the next one and we'll come back to Sarah.
Okay, let me just write it down. The next one is Jessica Meyer.
Yeah, she's right here. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, thank you. Members of the board, thank you for your leadership in these uncertain and difficult times. I'm a mom of 4 with 3 children participating in Canalino's remote learning program. I speak tonight on their behalf to say that remote learning via Zoom is an impossible task for all those involved. The teachers are mandated to provide hours of online instruction and to try to engage, observe, assess, and teach 20 to 30 children they really have never met. They don't know and can't see where their students are in their work, how easy or hard it is for them to complete, or how hard they find it to sit and pay attention via Zoom. The students in the classroom are muted for all large group sessions and feel unheard and unseen. For my 2 older children who have always loved and thrived in school, they now wake up dreading another day on Zoom. My youngest at Canalino just began DLI kindergarten, and her predicament is even more strange. 25 people on a screen she has never met, speaking a language she doesn't understand. She is afraid to speak to this audience and has yet to say a single word unmuted on Zoom in 3 weeks. We need this waiver, and we need to get safely back to in-person learning. I am confident that given the low number of cases here, we can do this and keep our students and teachers safe. There is an option for those who have the capability and feel unsafe to teach their kids at home in an independent study. But I guess the real question is, if you don't feel it is safe now, when will you? Are you willing to write off the entire year and the following one? Will you feel safe when we rush to develop a vaccine, then getting that vaccine that we rushed to develop? We know that safety protocols like masks, social distancing, hand washing, and outdoor interaction can snuff out so much of the risk. There are many activities running safely in our town at this moment. I trust this plan. I believe hours on Zoom is much more detrimental to my kids' health than wearing a mask to school. I also believe that the safety guidelines at school will create less spread and outbreaks in our community than the much less regulated pods and cohorts that seem to have sprouted up in the absence of in-person learning. How are these unregulated groups more safe and beneficial than in-person learning in an environment that is following county and state mandated protocols? Zoom school has social, emotional, and academic shortfalls and consequences we cannot and should not ignore. Help us get our kids back to in-person learning, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Holly Minier.
Good evening.
Hi, Holly.
Sorry, I'm trying to get everything together here. Good evening, Superintendent Rigby and Carpinteria Unified School District trustees. My name is Holly Minier, and I'm a parent of a 5th grade student at Summerlin School. I'd like to start with thanking all of you for your service, and also all of the educators within Carpinteria Unified School District, as I know this is a challenging time to be in the field of education. I realize this is a difficult decision filled with many opinions that include a large spectrum. I am speaking tonight in support of CUSD applying for the elementary waiver as allowed by CDPH. During this time of COVID, there have been many questions that have been difficult to answer as a parent. Among the most difficult to answer is why? Why can't we go back to school? Why is it that Boys and Girls Club is open? Why is it that Girls Inc. is open and my school is not open? Why can students be in those places but not in school? Why is it safer there? How is school different than those places? Why is it that I can go to summer camp with 17 students with passive and active screening and approved protocols, such as wearing a face covering, and I can't go to school with my classmates of 11 students? Mom, it just doesn't make sense. The reason is this, and this is somewhat difficult to explain to a 10-year-old. Those organizations have followed the guidance provided by CDPH, CDC, Santa Barbara Public Health, and they've successfully applied to open. This is the same process for schools, applying for a waiver based on specific guidelines provided by public health, the experts in responding to a pandemic. The way our family sees the waiver is this. School districts are in the business of educating students to the best of their ability, using the best tools available to them. The waiver is the current best tool available for elementary students. There is a reason CDPH is allowing elementary schools to apply for the waiver. They realize the damaging adverse effects of elementary students being away from school, the challenge of elementary students accessing their education in a remote format, and they believe it is safe for elementary students to attend school in person if the proper guidelines are planned and followed, as outlined in the waiver. Our family has closely monitored the low numbers of COVID positive cases in the 3 communities, Summerlin, Montecito, and Carpinteria, in which our district is reported. For many months, since the beginning of the numbers being tracked, in fact, they have been consistently among the lowest numbers of active cases in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. This is one of the reasons we support the district applying for the waiver. Additionally, our family is confident that our son's educators can follow the plan.
I'm sorry,
Given
Jamie. Your time ran out.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Holly.
you. Holly. Next, we have Mr. Kurt Souza. Kurt Souza.
Kurt, can you wave, please? Monica, do you see Kurt?
I saw him a little while ago. Yeah,
They
both
were
him
there.
and his wife.
No, currently, do you see him?
Let me see.
We'll have to come back to him. I don't see him on the screen.
Okay. Then we have Mr. Robert George.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right, is my time starting?
Go ahead.
As soon as you tell me you're ready, I'll hit the button.
All right. My name is Bob George. I have 2 children attending DLI at Catalino and 1 child that will soon to be joining the population there. I'm an LA County firefighter. I've been dealing with COVID on a day-to-day basis since it has started. I'd like to focus on the science, and I believe that the proposal for the waiver that the Carpinteria Unified School District has proposed is in sync with the guidelines put forth through the CDC, the state, and the county. And because of that, I am confident that we can open the schools October 1st in the hybrid fashion that they're attempting to. In my experience in all of our briefing, which we are briefed every day, we are taking the appropriate precautions to protect ourselves and the community that we serve. The highest at risk people based on science and what has happened are the elderly that are either compromised immune system or have some sort of comorbidity that would contribute them to being susceptible to the worst consequences of getting COVID. And these people are the same people that every year are also susceptible to just the normal flu. And I think everything that I've been reading and that we've been dealing with is that the young, especially we're looking at K through 5, are very much statistically not susceptible to one, getting sick and or getting seriously sick or dying. And also most studies are showing that they're very low transmitters. So we being a free and open society, we have to assess risk. And those of us that are parents and or teachers or with the community that have potentially people within our family circles that are at risk, then you have to be aware of that. But I believe that the proposal for the waiver is in the best interest of our children from not only a scientific perspective, but educationally and psychologically and everything else that's of benefit for our children. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sally?
Yes.
I have a procedural just suggestion for consideration. If Monica could announce who the OMBAT speaker is, then Diana can look for them while the other person's speaking. So Monica, if you say the speaker's coming up after, then it can kind of get prepared.
I can do whatever you guys want me to.
Yeah, that's a good idea, just so that they're on their screen ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next we have Peter Dugre, and after that we have Amanda Nicolaro George.
Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead, Peter.
Leah, can you mute?
Yes.
Good evening, President Green, board trustees, Superintendent Rigby, all the rest of the boxes of faces out there. I'm Peter Dugre. I have a 3rd and a 6th grader in the district. First off, I want to thank the board for taking the time tonight to consider this complicated matter. We're confronting a serious public health issue like none we could have imagined just a year ago. It's clear there are no perfect answers, but I do fully support sending in the application for a waiver and reopening in the hybrid model on October 1st. And I do so because we've learned a lot in the past 6 months. In the past 6 months, we've adapted our behaviors and understand how to minimize risk in a way that we did not last spring. We all grocery shop, we meet each other on occasion, we dine out. We figured out a way to conduct essential tasks, much like going to school, in safe ways. So there are no actions to take right now that will eliminate every anxiety any of us has. However, over time, we have learned to mitigate and navigate many of our existing anxieties. So the best step right now is to continue opening gradually. I emphasize gradually because there are metrics set up through public health to assess these waiver requests. And the waiver system is meant precisely for an area like ours with a small population and very few cases. So we need to move forward, and we need to do so in a cooperative way, in a trustful way. We need to trust that we can take this calculated risk together because responsibility for safety falls on all of our shoulders. I trust in the leadership of the school district and the teachers to do their parts and families to do ours. Reopening schools is not the first step that we have taken to ease out of the full pandemic mode, but it is a necessary next step. So in closing, I believe public health assessments are perfectly in line with this form of a gradual reopening. I also fully support the many months of careful planning conducted by our superintendent, the CUSD administration, and other stakeholders. They all take their responsibilities very seriously and should garner all of our confidence. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Amanda Nicolato, and after that, we're gonna have Kim McKay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Nicolato George, and my husband just spoke earlier, and I am the other half of that partnership. I am a stay-at-home mom, and I have 3 children, a second grader in the DLI program, a kindergartner in the DLI program, and then a 2-year-old. Zoom classes have been utter chaos in our household. I am the primary caregiver, as my husband is a firefighter and often not home. It has been a very, very challenging semester so far. I applaud the teachers. I think they are doing a wonderful job with what they have been given. However, my daughter receives 3 at most 30-minute Zoom classes, all in Spanish when we are an English-only speaking household. This is not enough for her. Much like some of my friends, my daughter does not like to go to school. She does not like to attend Zoom classes. She puts her head on the table. She whines and complains every time that she needs to do work or participate online. This is a challenge, as if anybody knows my daughter Hannah, she is a ray of sunshine. And Zoom is not catching her rays. My son Nicholas is a little bit different. He is a antsy 5-year-old in kindergarten who needs structure and discipline. He does not like to sit, and I need to sit the entire time with him on Zoom. So for our days at school, I am constantly running from one computer to the next, ping-ponging back and forth to make sure that my students, my children, are learning, are present, and are participating. At the same token, I have a 2-year-old who then has no attention, who starts putting tomatoes and green beans in the fish tank, rubs all my makeup on the rug, runs away. There are a lot of things going on. I have resorted to hiring a Spanish tutor 6 hours a week for my daughter, Hannah. I have to put my 2-year-old in in-house daycare so that I can focus my attentions to my other 2 children who are in school. I fully support our kids going back to school October 1. I am confident with the school, with the administration, that we can have this performed safely. We as a community can protest in the street, hand in hand. We can get our hair done. We can have a beer at Island. We can go out for dinner, but our children are not in school. And that is a necessity in our community. Thank you so much for all that you do, and I appreciate the time to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Kim McKay, and after is gonna be Dan Ronhar.
Sure. I'll speak. This is Dan Ronhar. I'm speaking for Kim and myself. First of all, thank you to everybody, your time, the board, and all the other parents that are here. I'm the parent of 2 children at Catalino, and I am in support of getting our kids back to school. As I see it, we're debating 2 priorities. The first is the health and safety of our community and our teachers, and the second is the education of our children. I don't think that these are mutually exclusive, but in this case, they are in competition with each other. There isn't an argument that I've heard that promotes remote learning as better for the intellectual and emotional development of our children. We all see the needs to get our kids in school. Our kids are suffering. So the question is really about the safety and the health. We are in a low incidence area. Santa Barbara County is running just under 8,700 positive cases right now. Well over half of those are strictly from Santa Maria and the federal prison. That doesn't even include the other areas north, like Lompoc, San Ynez, Orcutt, out in Cayuma. So Carpinteria and Santa Barbara are very low. Beyond being low incidence, the rates in youth are extremely low. The CDC reports that less than 7% of the cases nationally are in the 18 and under group. They've also posted studies that show the contraction and transmission in youth is far lower than in adults. The CDC states, and I quote, "No studies are conclusive, but the available evidence provides reason to believe that in-person schooling is the best interest of students, particularly in the context of appropriate mitigation measures similar to those implemented at essential workplaces." So we've talked about low contraction rates and in youth. Let's talk about the rest of our community, not the least of which are teachers who are on the front lines. There are known methods for mitigating risk: spacing, masks, and other basic precautions. These work. Just ask our local business owners, ask our health officials in the CDC. My wife, Kim, works in the COVID unit at Cottage. She knows firsthand, and she doesn't know a single healthcare worker there that has contracted COVID through the work environment. Mitigation efforts work. Our population is low, and that only further helps one of those key mitigation efforts, which is spacing. So in summary, in-person education is far better for our children. Let's stop punishing our kids because of our fears. The decisions are difficult. Nothing about this is easy. The health risk is not zero, but it is low given our low population and incidence rates. Lastly, I'll finish up. I just want us to be vigilant, support our teachers and staff, but let's be vigilant about flattening our COVID curve, but let's not flatten the educational and emotional development of our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Next, we have Laura Manriquez and then Monica Shugart.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Laura.
Hi. Good evening, Superintendent Rigby, members of the school board, CUSD administration, faculty, staff, and members of the community. I am an instructional assistant and have been with CUSD for 20 years now. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have many concerns over the decision to open a hybrid or in-person model this October, all of which surround the critical and important issue of safety. Returning to a situation where I will be working in proximity to students, staff, and others has me quite concerned, as 3 members of my immediate family have compromised immune systems and fall into the Center for Disease Control's category for persons of high risk for getting severely ill from COVID-19. One of my family members has a degenerative autoimmune disease and has been ordered by a doctor to stay away from all possible contact with any virus or pathogen, whether people are wearing personal protective equipment or not. Working in an environment that has the potential for the presence of the SARS-CoV-2 virus puts my entire family at risk. This is necessarily unacceptable to me. I have requested an interactive process meeting with Human Resources to discuss these concerns, and at this time I'm still waiting for a meeting to be scheduled. My hope is that after considering my situation, the district will find a way to accommodate my request to continue to work from home while the threat of this pandemic is present. I'm more than happy to explore ways that will allow me to provide student and teacher support while working from a distance, as I imagine many others may be. My question to you at this point is, what is the district's plan moving forward to consider and accommodate the request to provide accommodations to work from home, to allow those of us at high risk for getting severely ill with COVID-19, or those of us in close contact with others in that same category? Even if the schools open this October, will the district respect doctors' orders for those of us with weakened immune systems and those of us who care for them? To remove ourselves from possible exposure, will I be asked to choose between the safety of my family and my job? Please understand that I'm committed to continuing my support of our students and families, but I must also ensure the safety of my family during this sensitive time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
So next we have Monica Sugar and then Heather Westbrook.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Shugart. I'm a teacher at Catalina. In the face of all the coronavirus uncertainty and the surrounding district's decision to forego waivers, it is worrisome that CUSD School Board would consider reopening schools. I will be returning to the classroom. I will be risking my life and that of my family. You should know my husband Frank is in his 70s. I have one parent left and in-laws in their 80s. I can't afford to lose my paycheck or my health insurance. I don't feel my health and safety have been a priority. I was given jersey masks, a stretchy material that absorbs moisture, which decreases efficacy. There are a lack of designated one-way traffic flows. There are improperly marked distance markers on campus. Please take a lead from Goleta Union School District and Santa Barbara Unified School District. they have voted not to apply for a waiver and not reopen. Similarly, teachers and districts have invested a considerable amount of time and money getting the remote learning established. Rather than open and close, let's continue with the distance learning model. Santa Barbara County is still in Tier 1, which is a widespread risk category. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica.
So we have Heather Westbrook and then Lindsay Dogweiler. Need better glasses.
I don't see Heather.
You don't see Heather Westbrook?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna put her back. It's Lindsay here, Lindsay Dogweiler. Let me check. I don't see Lindsay either.
No.
Okay, next we have Amber Neely. And after that, Kelsey Cruz.
Amber, could you wave for me, please? Oh, hi, Amber.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Neely, and I am a first grade teacher at Aliso Elementary School. And thank you so much for giving me the time to speak with everyone tonight. I know that we all want the students back in schools, in persons, with their teachers and their friends. But I think that it is too early to do that safely. I'm not going to say a lot about the health and safety because I believe we all know the risks involved, and that whether it's safe or not at this time is a matter of opinions, and a lot of us have very different opinions about it. What I do want to talk about is the hybrid model of education. I question whether the hybrid model will actually be better for students' education. Currently, they are getting 5 days of instruction with their teacher and their classmates. In the hybrid model, they will get 2 full long days, 1 half day, and the other 2 days they will essentially be working independently. I worry that that model will actually provide less of a rigorous academic experience for all the children in the elementary schools. I know that this is challenging. I am a mother of a kindergartner and a 3-year-old, and I know that remote learning is very hard on everyone, on teachers and students and families. But I don't know if the risks of reopening early are outweighed by the benefits of a hybrid model. I also think that the hybrid model opens up a huge question as to how the district and the parents and the community will be able to stop the spread between cohorts. Parents are going to be forced to make some very challenging decisions about what to do for childcare on the days when the children are not in school with their teachers. And I know that many of us as parents are going to have to choose options that are not going to meet the health and safety measures put in place by the school plans, and that it will be mixing cohorts on the off days. And I just want all of you to really think about what the child's learning experience will be with only 2 days of in-person learning in a classroom where they have to stay.
I'm sorry, your time ran out.
Nothing
I'm
is
sorry,
on the walls.
your time ran out, Amber.
His mouth is covered by a mask.
So now we have Kelsey Cruz and then Sonia Aguila.
I don't see Kelsey.
Let me check. No, I don't see it either. And then Sonia Aguila.
I saw Sonia, hold on.
And after Sonia,
Hi, Sonia.
sorry, after Sonia, we have Jay Hochner.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi. I gave my minutes to another speaker, but if it's okay, I do have something to say. I've been with the district for 23 years, and believe me, I miss my classroom. I get emotional when I go to get materials. It feels very lonely. Students are not there. It's not the same. Something I want to point out, I don't want to repeat what everybody said, but something that nobody has mentioned is that teachers commute. So the majority of the teachers come from Santa Barbara, Ventura. I come from Oxnard. And so, yes, we don't have too many cases in Carpinteria, but chances are, teachers are commuting. We're not fortunate enough to live in Carpinteria, and so that's a concern. I want to go back and be with my students in person. I worry, I think that it's not safe. I worry that it might be too soon. I want to feel safe when I go back. I want my students to be safe. I want my own children to be safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia.
Next, we have Jay Hochner, and after that, we have Felicity Moore.
Hi, Jay.
Hello, am I unmuted?
You are.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. All righty. First, I'd like to confirm my appreciation for all the expressions of confidence and total support for district teachers and staff. They and I appreciate your support. So it's a little confusing why those who express such support are not listening to the teachers and support staff. After considering all you have shared, they are still telling you that this waiver and reopening in person is a bad idea. As a parent, a resident, a taxpayer, a property owner in Carpinteria, I'm awfully sympathetic of the challenges that come with remote learning, having kids at home, balancing all of the challenges that brings. I'm also, though, a district employee, a teacher at the middle school, and an elected representative with CUSD's employee union. And although these roles sometimes bring competing interests, they also do much to influence my understanding of these reopening conversations. This evening, I'm here to speak on behalf of district employees whose health and safety insights, experiences, and concerns have been repeatedly overlooked and misinterpreted throughout this pandemic. While district leadership provides verbal assurances that they are prepared to reopen schools, they have been fundamentally unable to physically demonstrate or prove the accuracy of that sentiment. But on this, we're sure the reception of a waiver in the current environment will hasten the reality that our children, our colleagues, public servants, their families, and the virus will all be brought together in person on district school sites and facilities. As of this date, Carpinteria is surrounded and in a county still in the purple tier, meaning, quote, widespread community spread transmission. Widespread community spread transmission. LA, Santa Barbara, Ventura, and surrounding areas, all in that purple tier. Yet while surrounding districts are focused on gathering insight into the COVID threats so as to better mitigate community spread and provide stability to the teaching and learning environment, CUSD's leadership is charging forward to pursue a reopening waiver designed for smaller and much better resourced educational institutions. I heard Laguna Blanca mentioned, and that is the typical type of school that is receiving such waivers. While surrounding districts both inclusively and transparently prepare for a cautious and durable pandemic response, CUSD has minimized dissenting voices and dangers while grossly inflating the ability to protect the health and safety of students, employees, and their families. But you really shouldn't just listen to myself, right? I'm not encouraging that. I don't think anyone is jumping down that road. This statement was released last night by Santa Barbara Unified School District.
I'm sorry, your time ran out, Mr. Hochner.
They are not pursuing.
Mr. Hochner, your time ran out. Next, we have Felicity Moore, and after that, Gretchen Toffelmeyer.
Is Felicity here? I did not see her.
Let me check. I don't see her. She was having internet connection troubles, so she wasn't sure. So
And Gretchen is right here.
Okay, so next we have Gretchen.
Hi, Gretchen.
And after that, we have Jacqueline Martin Blanchett.
Yes. Hi, Gretchen. You have to unmute. There you go.
Thank you. First, I want to express my gratitude to the families for their amazing support in helping their children with distance learning. All of my students are showing up ready to learn every day. I also want to thank the district for providing the technology required for all students to participate. My concern is that we are rushing to reopen before it is safe to do so. The Santa Barbara Unified District decided against seeking a waiver for reopening. Last night, Superintendent Maldonado stated, "We surveyed our community partners as well as our elementary staff and families and learned that there was not overwhelming support for reopening elementary schools under the waiver." On September 3rd, Goleta Union School District stated, quote, "Keenly aware of the heartbreaking challenges some families are facing, the board is clear that we need to make the health and safety of our children, families, and staff paramount. The board decided to approach reopening our campuses cautiously based on scientific data and public health information. We will consider reopening schools in person when our county moves into the orange tier, moderate transmission rate." Anita Cicero, Deputy Director of the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, stated, quote, "Most countries where schools reopened successfully had 1 or fewer cases per 100,000 people. By contrast, many counties in the US have 40, 60, 75 cases per 100,000 people. It's not responsible in those settings to bring all kids back for full-time instruction," unquote. Lee Childress, superintendent in Corinth, Mississippi, said he unintentionally became a poster child for coronavirus outbreaks in schools, where positive cases cropped up in all 3 of his schools. In the first 2 weeks of school, 130 of the district's 2,600 students were quarantined after 10 students and 2 staff members reported that they'd tested positive. In the weeks before school began, Childress pored over local health metrics. He saw that new cases were rising, but he believed that he had a good plan to manage it. His schools required all students to wear masks and get their temperatures taken daily. The students were cohorted and they ate meals in their classrooms. These are the same measures CUSD is planning on taking, and they didn't work for them. I urge you to follow the examples of Santa Barbara and Goleta school districts and wait until it is safe to proceed with reopening our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Next we have Jacqueline Martin Blanchett, and after that, Marit Termare.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, how are you guys? So I currently work at Aliso Elementary. Now, I have a couple of concerns, mostly coming from a place of concern as an employee, as well as being a sister that is taking care of her younger sister and tutoring for free in the valley that I work in, or live in, sorry. We live in a small community and we've had many deaths, which really concerns our community, as well as living with someone that has a compromised immune system. So my concerns are, one, you know, living with high-risk people, of course, also trying to find another way of a hybrid program. Taking example from Buellton School District right now, where they're providing in-class learning, but only for people that have special ed or that families cannot stay home with them. Some people as well is struggling in the IEP system. And lastly, I do love what Rogelio said about the concerns about the bathroom. We cannot manage them. We are not allowed to go into the bathroom to watch them. as someone that has worked at the Boys and Girls Club as well, making the point that they have reopened, they are able to hire more staff where we are not able to. They can hire people, and I have been in talks with the director at the Goleta Boys and Girls Club, as it was my previous place of employment as well, that they have strict regulations now that they are following. I find it very disconcerting that we only have 148 staff members to 931 students, where they can compromise and have 5 students per 1 person. Also having a large amount of field area to also learn, as well as having Wi-Fi that is accessible. We do not have that at our school. We cannot be provided with that due to our smaller grounds. That is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacqueline.
So we have Mari Termate and then Alexandra Forbes.
Hi, Mari.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm in 2 Zoom meetings at the same time, so I'm gonna switch gears over here. Okay, I'm going to read my statement. Should I start the timer right now? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm speaker number 38, so clearly we all have very strong opinions about the waiver. First of all, I wanted to express my deep appreciation for the teachers and leadership team during these unprecedented times. I come from a family of teachers, and my husband and I are teachers too, and at my college, Santa Barbara City College, we have a little less than 100 classes or labs that are held face-to-face right now, indoors as well as outdoors. And the reason I bring this up is because the college realized remote learning isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. This is the exact point I want to make. While remote learning might work for some teachers and students alike, it certainly doesn't work for everyone, particularly many of our youngest ones. The American Academy of Pediatrics urges kids to be physically in school because of all the emotional, social, and educational risks remote learning causes. Also, recently, Daniel Koch, the country's infectious disease chief, said that children under the age of 10 rarely transmit the virus since they have less of a receptor which the virus needs to enter cells. And smaller lungs eject fewer infectious particles in the air. So this is a big reason why schools open back up so quickly in Europe at the elementary level. Then there's anxiety and equity. I have a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old, and while my 6th grader is very comfortable with Zoom, my rather shy 1st grader has so much stress and anxiety about it, despite having a wonderful teacher. One of us literally has to sit next to her the whole time while holding down full-time jobs as well. But many kids don't have a parent at home. As an ESL teacher, I know firsthand how many of my students cannot be at home with their kids because they're holding down 2 to 3 jobs. So their younger ones are in the care of an older sibling, or they might Zoom from the Boys and Girls Club or Girls Inc., where they're pretty much left to their own devices. Or even if a caretaker is nearby, they're unable to provide educational support because of language and technology barriers and educational backgrounds as well. PBS has a documentary on outdoor learning that I highly recommend. During the Spanish flu, classes were even held outside in the heart of the winter in Chicago. We live in a perfect climate in a community where COVID numbers are extremely low. Why can't we add an additional level of safety for our teachers and kids by providing the learning outside under shade tents? I ask that you move to a hybrid approach for our youngest ones, even if it's just K1 right away and phase in higher grades later. Our youngest ones have already been at this for 6 months. Even kids in Italy are back in school, and locally kids are back at the YMCA, at dance, in camps, and in school if they come from affluent families to afford a private school education. The lack of in-person learning will only cause a greater gap between kids from more affluent or less affluent families. So I hope we can do better, and let's keep our teachers safe and put our kids first.
Thank you, Merit.
Thank you, Merit.
Next, we have Alexandra Forbes, and after that, Samuel Dudley.
Oh, hi, Alexandra.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Alexandra. I'm just going to read something I typed up while waiting. I'm a parent of a special needs kindergartner in Mrs. White's class. She's an exceptional teacher. I also work full-time. I have a 2-year-old as well, and I make it work. Zoom is hard. Life is hard. It's COVID. I sit the entire class on Zoom with my son. We struggle, we do it every day, and I'm balancing all those 5 hats on an hourly basis. Again, we make it work. It's COVID, and things may never be the same. I am 100% against the school waiver and opening on October 1st. I was also against the school's closing initially, as face-to-face is the best option for my special needs son who thrives in a social environment. The irony is that what has transpired in the unprecedented situation of the global pandemic we are facing. I have heard the supporters of the waiver tonight. The entire world is facing what we call falling behind. Kids are being difficult. They don't feel special. A variety of issues. I do understand that. We have staff that commute, that raise our exposure level in Carpinteria, families with multiple homes coming from Oxnard and Santa Barbara, and everyone is adjusting. Everyone is struggling. I feel that distance learning and Zoom is not ideal. However, I feel that distance learning and Zoom is the best choice for our school, given our options. First, the school's health protocol that was read aloud earlier sounds like a prison setting and counterintuitive to a thriving educational environment. I do not see the need to expose our kids and our staff and teachers to the danger of COVID, and this plan is overwhelmingly traumatic and unrealistic. The environment would be far more distracting and difficult than being at home. Second, during all the concerns regarding health precautions, which was read thoroughly and addressed, no considerations were mentioned for students with special needs and the ability of the district to meet their needs to maintain their IEP plan in alignment with COVID regulations. No considerations have been made to their educational emotional best interest. I read in the president's email on Parent Square the exact opposite. Special services will not be provided in person. This is unacceptable. There was mention of a low incident rate, but does that mean that we still get our aids? It was assumed no. Is that lawful? I assume not. This is COVID rules. There are kids like mine at risk for being completely ostracized from their typical developing peers even further, not being able to meet the strict and unrealistic COVID protocols and dropped out of general ed to the special ed room. I represent a special needs community of English and Spanish speakers, and we expect our community to be mindful of non-typically developing students and their needs and inclusion. Regardless of this, I'm still against opening the school in October. Third, there is no mention of appropriate options for families to be able to continue distance learning, and I expect that to be provided considering the risks to most families. The catch-all independent study option does not address equal opportunity. If we elect to do independent study, my son will be dropped from general ed and homeschool with a special ed teacher. He leaves his class as teacher, and as a parent, I was never consulted.
Your time ran out. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Samuel Dudley and then Brian Gobel.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Dudley, and I have a child that's in the DLI program, and I'm in favor of schools reopening. Children need to be a part of a group. They need to learn empathy, and they need to learn to read body language. Additionally, teachers, students, administration, and parents have all stepped up. And that's what we do in Carpinteria. We step up. We step up in this community and get stuff done. I have full faith in our teachers, in our parents, students, administration, custodians, and school board that this really will work. As a firefighter, I am gone most of the summer, either on fires or at work for weeks at a time. I am really fortunate that my wife is at home with our kids. But what about all my coworkers whose spouses work, and oftentimes they are married to other essential workers? I'm truly, truly empathetic to those who feel that sending their kids to school is unsafe, but why should my child be held ransom? I know that we are all here because we love our kids, but my child is losing her love of learning. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Next, we have Brian Gobel, and after that, it's either Brian or Rebecca, and after that, Paola Rodriguez.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, good evening. I will be as brief as I can, given that we're at a late hour. I'd like to start by saying I have a son in the school district, and I'm in favor of the school district applying for the waiver. My comments largely echo those made by others this evening, including Holly Manier, Aaron Smith, and Bob George, just to name a few. I do want to elaborate on one concern that I think has been raised by a couple parents, but I think deserves more attention, which is the pernicious effects of screen time on our children. They're on screens hours and hours and hours a day. And there are ample studies that demonstrate that that's not good for their overall well-being. In addition, I want to talk briefly about the trends in the data. People have alluded to prevalence, what's going on around our community, outside our community, et cetera. This is a topic I happen to know a little bit about, as I've been doing COVID-related modeling and data analysis for a variety of groups and publicly commenting on it over the last several months. I think a couple things worth knowing in our community and for the board specifically are in Santa Barbara County. The best measure of the prevalence of the virus is hospitalization numbers. On May 8th, the day we reopened, we were at 36. On July 20th, the day we peaked, we reached 96. And yesterday we were at 32. And we're still going down, and we're going down quite rapidly. The state is experiencing the exact same trajectory. On May 8th, hospitalizations were at 4538. They peaked at 8820 on July 21st. Yesterday, they were 3735. The decline in the virus is most rapid in Southern California, San Luis Obispo, and South. So things are going, by comparison to where they were 2 months ago, quite well in our community and our surrounding communities. I think the last point I would like to make is one I'm probably uniquely qualified to make, because I also have a child in the Santa Barbara Unified School District. And we've heard lots of speakers tonight encourage us to follow the lead of that school district, or GALITA. They've neglected to mention that Montecito Union and Cold Spring have applied for the waiver for their elementary schools. But fundamentally, I agree with the speakers who've noted that this is a decision about what's in the best interest of our community and our students. And Carpinteria, I echo the comments of the earlier speakers who said that this community has taken this pandemic very seriously. It's conscientious. I encourage everyone to continue to be that way. And I put a lot of faith in our teachers and our administrators to make sure that we do the reopening correctly and safely. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have Paola Rodriguez, and after that, Erin Jean Patterson.
Hi, Paola.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the time. I just want to say that first and foremost, that we have immense love and support for our teachers. Both my husband and I are also educators, and so listening to all of the teachers so far saying that they don't feel great going back really just is heart-wrenching, because I don't want to speak and support something that they don't want to do. I am a little bit disappointed that they don't feel confident in the model to return. I do want to say that I personally would like to see our kids return. I have my foot in many different circles of education, and I just think, gosh, so many schools are going back, and I know Santa Barbara isn't, and I know Carpinteria now is I'm hearing kind of lots of representation of yes and no, and I just think that we can't make this giant line in the sand of like have and have nots. Like, if my kid was going to a private school, they'd probably be getting in-person instruction, and if public school, then they're not. I also want to speak personally to my 3 children in the DLI. My little one who just started kindergarten, who my heart just breaks for. He's just been waiting so long for this, and he hates video conferencing. He really does. The teachers are doing their absolute best, and it is very admirable. And I want to just first and foremost say how much I appreciate all the energy and effort going into that. But it's not working, I think, for the majority. And both my husband and I are essential workers, and so when we're stuck feeling like we have to figure out childcare, and I'm in other different circles, and so I feel like having them at school with their peers seems to feel a little bit more like an answer, not a great answer, not the best, but an answer that's gonna be ultimately caring about them. I can spout off a bunch of science, but a lot of people have already done that. But I do also feel like the numbers are going down, and if businesses can open and campgrounds can open, then our schools should be able to open in some way, shape, or form. I want our teachers to feel good about going back as well, though. So I would also like to have a better option for those that really can't, because it doesn't seem like that's really fair either. But I want my kids back in school. And so I'm pro the waiver going through. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Erin John Patterson and then Daniel Gonzalez.
Hi,
Erin.
I'm a parent of 2 kids in the district, and we're in support of moving forward with the waiver. Our reasons include, just as many people have said, how untenable it is for parents attempting to hold down our own jobs while homeschooling, the disengagement and discouragement we see as our little kids spend most of their day sitting in front of computers, and the concerns, again, as this has been said, but parents in our communities whose jobs don't allow them to work at home. And but I do want to say that I appreciate the comments of those who have expressed a lot of fear and concern about whether our schools are prepared, but especially the concerns of the teachers, and especially like Paula said. But so I really urge you to listen to your teachers and to get them what they need to make this plan work. I do think it's a good plan if it can be implemented as stated, but please listen to our teachers. And we maintain that if we do that and we follow this plan, we think that the return to a hybrid model on the sooner side is necessary, but it's also achievable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Daniel Gonzalez, and after Maria Perea Gonzalez.
I'm looking for Daniel.
Let me see.
Daniel, would you be kind enough to wave? Do you see Daniel?
Let me check. I do not. No, I don't think he's here.
Okay, how about Maria?
Maria Perea Gonzalez. Let me check. I do see a Maria Gonzalez.
Okay, how about Summer Tarantino? Summer, would you be kind enough to wave? Or you, there she is. Hi, Summer.
Hi.
Hi.
All right, thanks. Good evening. My name is Summer Tarantino, and I'm a 2nd grade teacher at Aliso School. I'm here to urge our CUSD board members to not approve the elementary waiver application being brought before you this evening. Approving this waiver application and potentially switching our elementary students from a remote model to a hybrid model is not like clicking our heels and returning to the world we knew before COVID-19. Currently in our remote model, I see every single student Monday through Friday. In a hybrid model, I would see them on their 2 cohort days and hopefully a 3rd for a virtual Wednesday. In our current remote model, students have the ability to move freely in their space when needed. In a hybrid model, they will be directed to stay within a confined space identified by tape or hula hoops, and this is referring to both classroom and recess time. In our current remote model, students and teachers don't wear masks, allowing us to see each other's facial expressions, watch the movement of each other's mouths for proper sound production, and let's be honest, breathe a little easier. In a hybrid model, we won't be able to connect through facial expressions. My students won't be able to use me as a guide to demonstrate accurate sounds. And of course, the masks will be stuffy and uncomfortable for 6+ hours. Our classrooms are filled with visual learners, kinesthetic learners, and auditory learners. 65% of the population retains information by visual learning. This waiver would invite students to a campus where we not only cover the faces of those who are responsible for delivering instruction, but we've also been directed to not have anything on our walls due to sanitization purposes. Our kinesthetic learners deserve to move, touch, or feel their way through our lessons. This waiver would restrain our students and deny them their preferred style of learning. And quickly before I close, I can't help but notice a huge discrepancy in our communication with the community and with the staff when it comes to sanitization. Teachers that Zoom on campus daily are asked to leave the campus by 3:30. Yet in this board meeting, we are seeing that there is a campus open with, I'm sure, lovely intended volunteers helping out with something wonderful for their campus. But this is where we're talking about, we don't understand the rules and everything that's in there for applications, yet there's a campus open right now. So Ms. Bray, Mr. Delgado, Ms. Green, Ms. Robertson, Mr. Schaefer, please do not approve this waiver application to move any further than it already has. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mary Cibrian, and we will finish with Ana Delgado. Is Mary here?
Yes, she is right here. Oh. Hi, Mary.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mary Cibrian, and I'm a second grade teacher at Aliso School. I'm speaking to you this evening with the support of 11 other teachers at Aliso. The reopening plan is rushed. We will be notified about whether or not the waiver was approved possibly a day or so before reopening. This is disruptive to implementing a distance learning plan that has been carefully put in place. It is likely to cause confusion and disruption with little time to inform parents and train students. A stable distance learning program is currently functioning well, and the potential disruption of reopening to the hybrid model on October 1st and then having to shut down will do more damage than good. Stability is of the utmost importance, especially for young children. The insecurity of going through a shutdown would negatively affect young children and all children. Many of our parents work outside the community in places such as Ventura, where there's a higher infection rate than in Santa Barbara County. This puts our program at risk of a shutdown. Currently, all students spend a significant amount of time each day with their teachers remotely. At this time, the distance program is going well. Students and families have adjusted to the schedule. We should let this program work more before making a rushed change that is likely to lead to a shutdown. The majority of Aliso teachers do not have confidence that the district's plan is ready to be implemented on October 1st. A plan that is not rushed would instill more confidence in all of the district stakeholders, parents, teachers, students, and community members. As we've heard from others, Santa Barbara, Goleta are deciding not to pursue a waiver. Instead, they have decided to wait until the numbers and the health officials determine that it is safe enough to reopen. Many of the local schools that have been approved for the waiver are small and have already or have recently constructed outside teaching spaces. We have no permanent structures for shade, nor are 4 easy ups on the grass adequate for teaching effectively and safely. Social distance markers haven't been placed on campus, water fountains in classrooms haven't all been covered, paper towels haven't been hung in dispensers in the bathrooms following remodeling. We didn't have soap or seat covers in the adult bathroom for weeks after school started. Wall-mounted hand sanitizers haven't been placed in all classrooms. Yet we're told to trust the district that everything will be done. Many small but important details like this are not decided upon. We seem to be reacting to having to make an arbitrary deadline rather than planning with precision what's best for everyone, parents, students, and staff alike. We Aliso teachers believe it is in the best interest of our students to remain in distance learning at least until November 1st, as was originally planned. This will give us more time to assess the current numbers, given the advent of cold and flu season upon us, possible increases in COVID numbers, and plan effectively.
I'm sorry, you run out of time.
For safely.
Thank you, Mary. Next we have Ana Delgado, and she's the last one.
Yep, Maria's next. We miss Maria. Hi, Maria.
Oh, she's here?
Yes, so we'll do Anna after Maria.
Okay.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Diana. Good evening, board members. My name is Maria Perea Gonzalez, and as a parent of a second grader at Canalino Elementary, I was surprised to hear of the possibility of Canalino reopening in a hybrid model on October 1st. However, I remained optimistic because I know that there are families who could benefit from this opportunity. I was very happy to hear that families who chose to continue learning remotely could have that option as well, because our son has been thriving in his current Zoom class. He's learned to be patient, to listen, to use technology in ways that we never could have imagined. His teacher has done a wonderful job of creating a curriculum that is easy for him to follow and has made Zoom classes enriching and engaging. However, when I learned that families who chose the remote learning option would not have the support that in-classroom families would have, I was disappointed. As the aunt of a DLI student, I was equally disappointed that a remote option would not be available for my nephew as well. For every family, the decision of whether they will be sending their student to school or not will be unique and personal to their circumstances. For us, this decision has kept us up at night because it would mean that we would be sending our student into a situation that we as adults would not be comfortable being in ourselves. Because in his age group, masks are not mandatory per the guidelines provided by the Canalino principal last week. Only students 3rd grade and up would be required to wear a mask. So although I appreciate the fact that our school will be providing options, I would like to ask that for the families that make the decision to keep their students home, that these students will receive the same level of support as their peers. As my husband and I continue weighing our options, I have faith that our district will continue to support all families and will only reopen when it's absolutely safe to do so. So please don't let us down. Mr. Rogelio Delgado, thank you for making sure that the Latino community voices are heard and for making sure that they also hear the concerns expressed by the teachers in this meeting so that they are informed if the reopening takes place and can make an informed decision as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Next, we have Ana Delgado.
Monica, can you help me? I don't see Anna.
Let me check. Just here. Let me. Okay. I don't know which number on your screen. But
Anna, could you raise your hand?
There she is.
There
just
she is. Hi, Anna.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you. So I'm finishing Krista Munich's speech, so let me get to that. She says, where is the equity in being able to make informed decisions? How can our Spanish-speaking families accurately choose what is best for their family when the reopening plan and the waiver application are not available in Spanish? How can we serve the needs of all families when we are only giving 2 options to either return to hybrid or independent study plan? I'm not going to address my numerous concerns with the developmental appropriateness of the proposed model, but I do have great concerns with the impact on our students, and I do hope we are prepared for the impact of inconsistencies in routines when we have to close our quarantine, a class, social distancing constraints at school, inability to socially and physically connect with others while at school, length of time required to be immobile, and that's just to name a few. And this is my part now. I'm urging you to vote no against the waiver because according to the CDC, while the risk may seem low for children, they still get sick and some get really, really sick. Teenagers and children have contracted the virus and they have died. And there's still so many questions around this disease. It's really not worth the risk. And we don't know when the situation will get better. I doubt it'll get better by the proposed October 1st. And we're in a pandemic and safety should be our #1 concern. And on top of that, each family handles coronavirus differently. So how can teachers protect children and protect themselves when everyone is brought together in a classroom. Some students will want to wear their mask and others won't. Some students will take the virus seriously and others won't, and that's just a fact. While it's true that families can decide to enroll in homeschooling or enroll their children in private school, not every family has that privilege. Children from low-income families and minorities are the ones who have suffered the most from coronavirus, and they will be disproportionately affected if their only option is to return to public school. Instead, fundings and efforts right now should be going towards ensuring that all students have efficient online access to their teachers and schools. Please do not make low-income families, a lot of them minorities, choose between their life and their education. Thank you. That is all I have to say tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Can we take another break?
Well, excuse me, I think there are a few that we missed that are here now.
Oh, okay.
I think Jenny Coda is here. Jenny, could you raise your hand? Wave it. There's Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
Hi there.
Sorry we missed you earlier.
That's all right. I apologize. I was on the phone. Thank you for coming back to me and allowing me the chance to speak. Thank you all for being here tonight. Clearly, everybody cares deeply about our educators and our students, and everyone has a different personal view on the matter. So I just wanted to say that every family dynamic and situation is different, yet we're discussing a plan for families to adopt a singular solution. I work a full-time job from home. I have 3 children participating in Zoom learning 5 days a week. Is this ideal? Of course not. Do I think a better plan can be drafted that is inclusive and sensitive to all families in our community? I do. It's unrealistic to expect teachers to switch midweek, October 1st is a Thursday, to a hybrid program when all summer they were planning for distance learning. It's unrealistic to expect educators to monitor the bio breaks and hand washing, let alone teach a kindergartner to use scissors from 6 feet away. Finally, I think it's extremely short-sighted to ignore the probability of schools shutting down after a few weeks and the disruption that will undoubtedly cause. I urge you to consult more educators, consult more families, and create a plan that's inclusive and respects personal choice and beliefs, which this current plan has clearly ignored. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. I think Kurt Souza might be here. Kurt, are you here? Hi, Kurt. Hi, Kurt.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry we missed you earlier.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I'd like to thank the board and the superintendent for spending the time and resources to prepare our schools, teachers, and students to resume in-class learning. I would like to support the board to move forward with the waiver application to the county. I believe over the past few months, we as a community have learned to live with the virus. The state and local guidelines that have been published, reviewed, and updated many times show that when protective measures are taken, we can stay safe. Our teachers are very smart, well-educated, and I assume well-read on the issues of staying safe in a classroom. I know that our teachers will create a learning environment in their classroom that is safe for both them and our children. As we continually live day to day with this pandemic, we continue to go to the grocery store, Rite Aid, CVS, the gas station, to maintain a comfortable lifestyle. The employees at those locations have learned to adapt their work life to stay safe and continue the vital service they provide. School is a vital service for children. I have a daughter that works at a hotel that has learned to stay safe at work. Another daughter that attends college out of state and lives in a dorm. She and her friends have met the challenge to attend classes in the classroom and stay safe. She has been there for almost 2 months without incident. I know that our teachers want to come back to school and see their students in person learning again. Online learning is not the answer to this question. This is the first step of many to get our children back to school, and I appreciate all you have done. I would like to put in a brief plug to begin limited outdoor sport workouts to give kids a chance to use our school facilities with proper instruction and get back to physical education. Enough sitting at home on the computer on the couch. I'd also like to say that I looked in your plan, and it shows that you're in school 2 days and you're online 3 days, and people continue to say that you're only in school 2 days and online 1 day. So I don't know where the confusion is. If your plan is, if someone could, clarify that, that would be really nice. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah Scott. We miss Sarah. Is she here?
I heard something.
I don't see Sarah.
Let me see.
How about Heather Westbrook?
I don't see Heather either.
And Kelsey Crow?
I don't see her either.
Okay. Sally, I think those are all the public comments.
Okay.
I would like to make those comments, Sally, that you said that I could make at the end
Yes,
of the.
we're not quite there yet. Can we take a few minutes break? Is people good with that, or do you want to continue?
I think that is just
Why don't we take a 5-minute break and then we'll be back at 8:25. Thank you, Sally.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, look at that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So
Jamie back?
you go.
And Diana.
B, P, A.
Jamie, are you back?
I think Jamie might be muted. Diana's going to have to unmute her.
Oh, okay.
E, P, A, wait. And then the P is at home can do it. Then yeah, we can totally do that.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, we just have to wait for Diana. There she is.
Thank you, Sally.
Okay, I'm going to ask for comments from the board members first.
Let's let Rogelio give his give a synopsis.
Yeah.
This is my
If you'd like to translate for our
actually,
Spanish.
this is my third attempt to get to this. First of all, I would say that the only way to understand the pandemic is if it happens to friends or family members. Otherwise, we can go to a beach. Or we can go walking down the street with a mask at all, nothing at all. But when it happens to a family member, to a friend of mine, because it has happened to friends of mine and family who have passed away because of this pandemic, that's when we really understand what the pandemic is all about. Otherwise, nobody might even laugh about it, or say, "Well, this is happening to other people, not to me." But it does. It does. So that's one way the only way that people can understand it. And for example, like in Carpinteria, how many people have been infected? How many people have passed away? We don't know. Santa Barbara, Montecito, Summerlin, Goleta, Santa Barbara, we don't know. Why is that? Because those statistics are passed to Santa Maria, and then they put every people infected, every people who have passed away under Santa Maria County. That is why there's that's why Santa Maria County is purple. It's on the, has this designation, purple color, meaning that that's for the county. Unless we are in another county, then we don't belong then, but we do. So we are the Santa Maria County. And so that purple color is staying with us. Lo que quiero decir es de que la única manera de entender la pandemia es de que si vemos fallecer a un amigo, a un familiar, es la única manera de entenderlo. De lo contrario, uno puede ir a la playa sin tomar ninguna precaución, sin ninguna mascarilla, ni nada, y quizás hasta reírse. Eso le pasa a otras personas, pero a mí no. Pero ya cuando alguien que uno conoce fallece por la pandemia, entonces sí entendemos en realidad lo que es esto, lo que es la pandemia. Ahora, now, talking about the waiver, what is the rush? Why risk the safety of 931 students? Ahora, hablando de las escuelas primarias que el distrito quiere que vuelva la instrucción personal así en las escuelas, el 1 de agosto. El 1 de agosto lo que pregunto es, ¿por qué tanta prisa? ¿Por qué no esperarse? Ahora, no, I would say probably 98% true that kids on grammar schools, yes, they cannot transmit the virus, but they can get infected. They can get it. And remember this, there's gonna be 931 students and 148 employees, meaning 148 adults. Va a haber, el número de totales de estudiantes de las escuelas primarias son 931 estudiantes y 148 empleados. Entonces aquí la pregunta es, sí, es cierto quizás en 98% que los niños no pueden transmitir el virus de la pandemia, pero sí lo pueden recibir de los adultos. Entonces la pregunta es, el comentario es ¿por qué arriesgar la seguridad, la salud de estos estudiantes, de 931 estudiantes, cuando va a haber 148 adultos? Y por ahí, somebody else commented that 148 employees, they do not live in Carpinteria. A lot of them do, but a lot of come from Ventura, from Oxnard, Santa Barbara. The situation is completely different than Carpinteria. Por eso, sí es cierto, Carpinteria es una ciudad muy pequeña, pero también de estos 148 estudiantes, de esos 148 empleados, la mayoría no viven aquí, vienen de Santa Bárbara, de Oxnard, hasta de Lompoc. Entonces, vienen de diferentes ciudades y quién sabe qué es lo que pueda pasar. Pueden traer el virus y transmitirlo. And remember, kids can get the virus to adults that are not vulnerable. They cannot pass it along, but they can get infected. It's been mentioned and understood that last night in Channel 3 News, we got information that the Santa Barbara Unified School District will not apply for any waiver for elementary schools, except for a small group of students who are struggling the most. That's the only exception. Ayer el Canal 3 de Noticias avisó que el Distrito Escolar de Santa Bárbara no va a pedir ningún permiso para abrir las primarias a los estudiantes, con la excepción de un grupo muy reducido, muy pequeño, de aquellos que vayan mal en sus materias, que saquen malas calificaciones. Esa es la única excepción donde pueden abrir una pequeña sección del Distrito Escolar de Santa Bárbara. Aquí, como adultos, as adults, I mean, a lot of us do not follow the rules. And I mean like wearing a mask, are not responsible in going to the beach. It's been proven. It's been seen on TV. Walking down the street, you can see people without any mask at all, or sometimes they carry it on their hand. Y es lo que hemos visto, que muchas personas no toman precauciones aquí en Carpintería porque van a la playa sin mascarilla, caminan por las calles sin mascarilla y exponiendo a nuestra comunidad. Por eso nosotros no sabemos cuántos hayan muerto o quiénes están infectados. That is why there is no way to find out how many people have been infected or are infected right now in Carpinteria, or how many people have passed away, because that goes to Santa Maria. And como nosotros no seguimos esas reglas, entonces, if we as adults do not follow completely those rules, how can we expect children to follow 100% of these rules? It's just not possible. I mean, that is why my first comment was, what is the rush when we can to open the grammar schools on October the 1st? I mean, why take that risk? We have seen that most of probably 95% of teachers are against this, applying for this waiver. Why is that? There is one thing. Remember at the beginning I told you about the pandemic? It's the fear factor for the kids and the fear factor for them. And that's very important. But if you vote in favor of this waiver, it means that you are not thinking about our kids. Let's think about our kids, about about our teachers. Because all of this, what does it bring? It brings anxiety. It can even bring depression. Todo esto puede crear, los maestros hemos visto que los que han hablado, quizás un 95%, que no están de acuerdo en enseñar personalmente el 1 de octubre. ¿Por qué? Por el factor miedo de los estudiantes y de ellos. Es por eso que si los miembros de los demás miembros del de la mesa ejecutiva de educación votan a favor de este permiso para abrir las escuelas, no están comprendiendo, no están tomando en cuenta la salud, el riesgo de los estudiantes, que son los más vulnerables, los más pequeños. Ahora, no, we have seen colleges, we have seen universities that have been open and then shut down right away because of not following exactly these same rules. So again, I cannot really, I've been thinking about during this board meeting how can 148 employees completely comply with all of these rules and regulations of 931 students on every activity that they do, at every break, lunchtime, every time that they go to the restroom. No, I just, believe me, I have looked for solutions and no, I can't. So I think it's better to wait. I mean, what is the scene on this? Why not wait until high school and middle school? Then they can go back. Then we can all go back. Imagine this. Imagine that. Let's say that the kids go back to in-person learning on October 1st, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, we get some infections of employees or of kids. Then what will happen? Okay, let's go back to distance learning. Let's go back to Zoom activities. And then, okay, then a month later, right, then we can go back to the schools. No, that's total, that would be a mess, And that is why if what is the rush? Let's just, why gamble with the kids' safety? Why gamble with the kids' health? Why gamble with health and safety of our teachers, as well as employees, as well as you as administration officials? Now, remember that the metrics are changed daily, weekly, monthly. That is why California closed on March 18, closed every business, and we were let's say on lockdown, and then businesses reopened to be shut down again. Why? Because they rush it. They rush opening those businesses. Had they waited, the government said it. Had they waited, the statistics are there. Had they waited 2 or 3 weeks, then everything would have been all right. But since they were in a rush to open businesses, the pandemic just got worse, and they were forced again to shut down. Now, the question that I have for you is that at the administration building, are you following these rules? Because at the entrance, I see 3 signs about social distance, mask, and everything. So the question that I have, are these signs for the people coming in, or are you exempt from these laws? Because let me tell you this, I think, to me, you should be following the same rules that that you are trying to implement at Aliso, at Canalino, at every grammar school. But they are not following them. And this is on the record. But I will even say on the road that you are not following them. I've seen it. I've seen it, and I could testify. I've seen it. So how can you implement the rules that you do not follow? And that's all my observations. Thank you.
Thank you. Every time I've walked into the district office with a mask on, my temperature is taken, and everybody in the office has a mask on.
No, I
who'd like
suggested
to speak
no.
next?
I'll go.
Who'd like to speak next?
I'll go, Sally.
Okay, Michelle.
Thanks. So this topic has weighed heavy on me for the last couple of weeks. After serving on the CARP Unified School District Board for 5.5 years, I consider this one of the top 3 most important votes that I will cast during my tenure, which is going to be ending shortly. I've gone back and forth on my opinion and tried my best to become as informed as I could with up-to-date data. As I have personally deliberated, there are 3 crucial factors that I considered in making my decision. The first factor that I considered is the public comment that I have received on the topic. So within the last 2 weeks, I have received many emails from constituents sharing their feelings on reopening and their experiences with the children and their family on how remote learning has been going. I have read all 21 emails sent to me, as well as read all the cause advisories and the associated comments from staff. I also appreciate the 40 comments that were made at tonight's meeting. I have seen and heard from those directly affected by the current model. I live next door to a current 5th grader who takes her laptop and sits on the step outside of her door. And I often hear the session from my home office window, so I have a little bit of knowledge of how it's been going. I spoke with the student and she said that although she is learning, it's sometimes hard to keep up when online. When the teacher asks questions of the cohort online, nobody answers. It's totally silent. So I know that there's not a lot of language and engagement going on. Her mother is a stay-at-home mom who has limited English and cannot support her as needed, and would really like to see her back in school. Additionally, I have neighbors who are both essential workers. One is a firefighter and one is a nurse. They are forced to leave their 2 school-age boys home alone to navigate school while they must report to work. The mother has shared her personal struggles with how to meet the needs of both their financial obligations and trying to help their kids with schoolwork. What this tells me is that the remote learning model is a place of privilege. It's a privilege for those families who can have a stay-at-home parent, for children who have educated parents with the ability to help them along the way. These children will probably be okay. But what about those that don't come from that place of privilege, those that have parents that must work or live in households that are not conducive to learning? So I see our achievement gap just widening every day. The second crucial factor I considered is around equity and meeting the individual needs of students. While we are all in this together, we do not always need the same things to cope or meet our potential. My education and my daily work revolve around the aspects of human development, specifically that of young children and how the brain develops. Humans are social creatures, and young children especially use socialization to develop rules, justice, empathy, and establish their place in the world. While my son would have thrived in remote learning as he was an introvert, My stepdaughter, who is the exact opposite, would not have. Both live in the same house, yet both need individual environments for them to be successful. Children by nature are more willing to follow rules than adults and protocols and do better with anticipated routines. Of all the factors that we worry about, including whether safety measures will be followed, the children are the group I worry about the least, as they are the most adaptive and resilient of any of us. The third crucial factor is that schools are not separate from their context, meaning that they are often a smaller reflection of what is happening in the community. Knowing the number of cases in the surrounding area gives a good indication of the risk of transmission happening in a school. If physical distancing and hygiene measures are applied rigorously and sensibly, schools are unlikely to be any riskier than any other work or leisure environment with similar population numbers. We do know the numbers of Santa Barbara County and especially of our region. From the Santa Barbara County Public Health website, our region, which includes the communities of Montecito, Summerlin, and the city of Carpinteria, have had a total of 186 active cases since the beginning of the pandemic, and 179 of those have recovered. The active cases reported as of today, September 15th, was 1. This tells me that our community is taking the risk seriously and are doing all that they can to follow the recommended protocols, and there is no reason to believe that this would change. As one of our earlier speakers stated, Carpinterians step up. Additionally, the science is telling us that the direction of transmission is more likely to be from adult staff to children than the reverse. But as most of those children will remain asymptomatic, there is still a risk of inadvertent infection. Adults in schools require protection, but must also protect. This includes a compact between educators and parents that both groups will be vigilant about limiting their exposure outside of school, and that stringent infection control measures between staff and children in school must be observed. With all that said, our knowledge of the virus and the effectiveness of prevention methods is still limited. Any action will inevitably be taken in a gray area of uncertainty. Thus, we are not going to be able to satisfy everyone. In the end, the reopening plan is a roadmap for risk mitigation, not for risk elimination. This virus is here, it's not going away, and we have to deal with it. Each person must be responsible for their own safety, and with that, I do believe in personal choice. I understand if there are staff that do not want to take the risk to return to in-person learning, and that decision will need to be made by them alone. There are options that can be exercised that allows for that choice to be made. There will be parents that wish to keep their children home the entire year, and they should also have that option as well. But for those that would like an alternative, I can no more deny their rights as an option either. Therefore, based on the factors I spoke of earlier, I will vote to approve the submittal of the application for the elementary waiver. However, in doing so, I would like to suggest the following occur before the opening date, and this is not a directive, this is one board member's suggestions. Parents should be surveyed, both electronically and or by calling, to establish what options they will consider this school year so that not just those that submitted letters or spoke to the board are influencing the decision, but that all families have a chance to weigh in. If we really value family engagement, then let's practice it. Parents should be given an option of 3 scenarios: independent study, remain remote learning, and participation in a hybrid model. Those parents that wish to remain in remote learning only should be paired with staff that have conditions that do not allow them to return to in-person teaching. Once parents have made the choice, they should commit for an entire semester. Changes can be made at natural breaks in the calendar. Staff as well should indicate their preference in working the latter 2 models and register that preference with their administrator. This process should not be an all or nothing approach either. Every staff voice matters, and they should be able to make their own professional decisions accordingly. Lastly, October 1st is an arbitrary date that is self-imposed. So I don't want us to get too tied to that. If we need more time, then take it. And my final words are that this situation should not be political, and it should not be about us versus them. If ever there was a time for us to reset our relationships, it is now. And we should be modeling for the students how to treat and speak to each other and assume best attentions. I hope that we seize this opportunity to do better moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for your very thought-provoking words. Jamie, Andy? Andy?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for that spoke tonight and who attended the meeting. As everyone knows, this is not an easy decision, and it's not one that any of us take lightly. But I can't agree with Michelle any more than what she said. She nailed so many points, and I won't reiterate many of the things that she said. But I think we all have empathy for those families and staff who are not able or are not confident enough to return. But our job is to look after the interests of all of our students and families. And it's apparent that we are not serving all of our families with the distance learning, and that our achievement gap is widening. More than 50% of our students were behind in reading and math before this epidemic, and I can't imagine where we are now. And we really, and I'm sorry we weren't able to hear from more of those families this evening. I know we received a few emails from Spanish-speaking parents in favor of the reopening, and just talking to folks that I know around town that were not here tonight. I know that they are in favor of the reopening plan. I'm confident staff will, as we always have before, we've stepped up to the plate and been able to solve challenges, and I know we will now as well. I would agree with many of the points Michelle made, not as directives, but as we can to survey our community and have options for our families and our staff. But I am in favor of the application for the waiver.
Jamie? Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. Yep. I want to reiterate both what Andy and Michelle said, but kind of in a different perspective. I am the only board member up here currently that has school-age children, and the younger grades. I have a 7th grader in middle school and also a 4th grader at Summerlin School. And I can attest that the Zoom, although I adore the teachers we have, they're doing such a good job, and some days I listen in and I'm just amazed at what she can do, that she actually brings me up in my mood. But the kids need to go back to Zoom. Every parent that emailed over and over again, it's, my kids hate Zoom, my kids hate Zoom. They want to go back to their friends. They need to learn from their friends. They need to have that interaction. And I'm noticing that firsthand. I have a very smart, kind child who is getting more and more introverted every day, and it's unfortunate. And I do, I feel like I wear many hats. Not only a mom, as a board member, and then as a career professional. And my husband and I are the lucky ones where we have the home and we both have jobs that were stable during this time. But it's not easy. And I feel for all the other parents that need to work full time and also are trying to educate their kids and keep them on task. And it's an impossible job. And so I want to just say, you know, one of my main hats I wear as a board member is oversight on the superintendent in conjunction with the rest of my trustees. And over again, we're hearing from the teachers saying that the, sorry, I think my earphones are going out, but it's not ready, that they don't trust what's going to happen. And I've read over it many times. And I think that we're ready. And I'm confident that working together with the superintendent, the principals, the teachers, the parents, we are so lucky in Carpinteria and Summerlin to have so many parents that are engaged and willing to step up. I think, you know, if we needed them to come in and take temperatures in the morning or anything, they're going to step up, they're going to help us. So I think we need to rely on them. And I think I mentioned that in the last board meeting as well. So I'm confident that we can do this. Many times tonight, people have mentioned Laguna Blanca School and how they are uniquely equipped to handle this. And they have the funding and they're the smaller school. Me personally, I'm very knowledgeable of it in a unique way. And I've been able to speak to somebody who is preparing everything. And we went over the Carpinteria plan, and he is in agreement that this plan can work. It's working for Laguna. It's similar to it. And it's important for the kids to get back to school. As hard as it's going to be challenging. Everybody's have to step up, but it definitely can work. And so that built my confidence that we can definitely do this. But I think the most important thing is me as a mom. And I want to acknowledge one thing. Jamie Dimon said that, you know, I did vote that I suggested we hold off until November 1st. And at the time, given what I knew, I thought that was also a good idea. However, knowing what we know now and how many parents have emailed us and reiterated how important it is for their kids to get back, I'm the first one to be like, you know, let's rethink this. Let's see if it's actually important now. So, you know, I don't want to jump into it. And if the waiver comes through, I'd like to give us, you know, some time to get back into school, but, you know, I'm no longer thinking that November 1st is the ideal. So, yeah, I'm happy and eager to vote yes on at least applying for the waiver and moving forward to getting back our old normal again.
Thank you, Jamie. I would just like to say that I've been involved in education for more than 50 years, and it's my distinct pleasure to have been involved with the Carpinteria Unified School District for the last 20 years. We live in a wonderful area of the country, the Central Coast, and Carpinteria is unique, and our school district is unique in all my experiences. Having worked with a number of superintendents and the teaching staff, I think everyone is well qualified to move forward with this, and they will give it their all. I know it's been said that we don't have the resources, and yet, as Jamie pointed out, we have had the resources. The government and the state have come through with money, and this is an incredibly generous community, and the nonprofits have donated monies that we can purchase additional materials, just like Westerly last week with $24,000. I think we can do this. And all the parents that we have heard, and I think all of us will say that we represent every parent and every child in the school district, that I think we can do this. And I would like to assure the community that our staff, the teaching staff, the aides, the administrative staff are going to do as much as they can possibly do to make this happen and have children be successful. And that's our goal, to reach every child and their families and to provide the best education possible for all these children. Thank you. So moving on, I would like to have someone make a motion to either accept or deny this plan.
Move to approve.
there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Are there any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you all for participating. We greatly appreciated listening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.